You're listening to M.T.V.B. Podcast. Movies, TV, video and board games. This show may contain swearing.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the M.T.V.B. podcast, the podcast that talks about my four favourite subjects, that's movies,
TV shows, video games,
and board games. I'm your host, Anthony, as well as most people know me as the Antman, and welcome. This week we're continuing our spectacular season in October. Last week was the 80s, 2 weeks ago it was the 70s, now we're on to the 90s, and I'm joined around the table by the guys that love to talk about 90s horror movies. Introduce yourselves around that table, please.
What's that? You see something? Something behind you in the forest? I'm sure it's nothing. I'm sure you're fine. Or are you? It's me, All-Hallows Dave.
All-Hallows Dave, I love that. And again, how would try that?
You need to go that way round.
Pale in comparison now. Well, I am H, the man with two lists, bringing up the rear to All-Hallows Dave, because nobody can lead that one.
No one can. Even if we went the other way, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, no, because then I'll finish.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, unfortunately, no JK47 today. He is in a better place.
Why'd you say it like that? And he's definitely not in a better
unfortunately,
place.
Work commitments was the reason why he couldn't be here. He is gutted he's not here, but he has given us his top 5, so we will deliver that to the fans at the end of the episode for him, in loving memory of him.
Looking forward to that.
In loving memory.
In loving memory. But hopefully he'll be back next week. So yeah, guys, 90s horror movies, how was the list for you?
Oh, I think I found this a lot easier than you guys.
Okay.
I've got a definitive 2 lists. They are juicy as hell.
Oh, okay. Yeah, interesting.
That's all I'm going to say.
Has this been the easiest decade for you to do then?
No, the 80s was definitely the easiest.
Okay.
The 80s, much like many of us, is my decade. Those were the horror films that I grew up with.
Apart from this guy. He looks old, but he's honestly not.
You're 67, right?
Oh, cheers. That's John.
Oh,
sorry. No, 80s was the easy one. 90s, I think a lot of good stuff came out in the 90s, and as I was getting older, I was growing more into adulthood. Again, choosing the films that I wanted to watch. So yeah, the majority of what's on both of these lists are films that I chose to watch. So no, it's easy.
Nice. And I assume this was a lot harder for you than Dave.
It was a lot harder for me, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I just think I've got a bit of a
don't have much of a 90s background for the horror style.
I just feel like this is a bit of a black spot for me.
Okay.
I think I've been like Men in Black mind flashed. I've just forgot everything that was in the 90s.
But you've still come up with a list.
I've come up with a list, yeah.
And made it on the show, John.
Anyway.
Yeah,
no, yeah, so I found the 80s was easier.
Okay.
We discussed it a little bit before. I didn't know the 90s just feels a bit more of a mixture of stuff, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
It feels a bit more of a sort of eclectic mix of stuff.
Well, we talked last week, didn't we? The 70s is very supernaturally, very, very religious. The 80s was the slasher.
Yeah.
The 90s, monster films were becoming bigger again. A lot of mine on the list were kind of more psychological.
Although I don't think it's really got into the stride of the psychological stuff yet. I think that comes a bit later.
It's more the 2000s.
Yeah.
Watch this, Space Kids.
If only we were doing the 2000s.
But no, that was going to be my first question for tonight, was like the mixture of the 90s. I mean, we had our fair share of the slasher genre was coming back. We've got our fair share of independent sci-fi horrors. We've also got a fair share of like you said, sort of horror movies that might not be horror, like something like Silence of the Lambs. Like we talked about this in like episodes last year, whether Hannibal Lecter was a horror icon, but it's not essentially horror movies, but it goes, some people put it in that category. So how did you find it with the mixture of it? I mean, I I seem to think that the 90s had a better wide variety of horror movies than any other decade at the moment.
Yeah, more to choose from.
Yeah.
I think that's where the ease for me came from. Yeah, because there was definitely a lot going on, a lot of genres, a lot of directors were trying something new as well. And people were dipping their toe into horror for the first time. So I think it was a great decade for horror to spread its wings, to spread its phoenix-like wings, and just get out of those staples of slasher, supernatural, etc., etc. So it was a great decade, I think. From my perspective, it was anyway.
And you were sort of growing up with it, so did you kind of start off young, or did you get into the horror sort of side later of it?
Yeah, the problem I found is that I think when I was starting to find the horror stuff like that, and it was watching films that already had that reputation, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So like the original Alien, the original Predator, stuff like that had already come. Those were the things we wanted to watch. We weren't so fussed as at this point about watching stuff that was coming out because there wasn't as much buzz, if you see what I mean. If you're like an early teenager and you're like, oh, I want to watch the really good stuff, you know, the things that everyone's talked about, that you've heard about in pop culture and stuff like that. So I think for me, it was more watching stuff that had come before at this point. So maybe that's just why I've found it a little bit trickier.
The one thing I did notice about the 90s, though, that there was a lot of sequels to things. And
absolutely.
Not necessarily great sequels.
Yeah.
You had Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th in the 80s. Yeah, there were sequels galore for those, but the 90s, definitely. There was films that they were pulling out of their arsehole from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and they were making sequels too.
And that's actually going to lead to my next question, because obviously we had the big Hollywood horror, 90s horrors then, but also we had like the video range, like a lot of it was straight to video,
hell of a lot,
and like some of the sequels to bigger movies were straight to video and stuff. Just out of your opinion, not back then but recently, do you prefer do you like the straight to DVD or straight to video movies at the time, or straight to DVD?
I like both.
Okay.
Because you've got two lists.
I need content. Straight to video stuff sometimes is the best. We talked about Rubber.
Yes.
Not necessarily a horror.
No.
But a little bit of a monstery type flick.
Yeah.
Straight to video, no cinema release. I love that film.
Okay.
Films of that ilk, I think, definitely deserve their place, even though they don't get a cinematic release. Cinema releases aren't always necessarily the best, and vice versa. So both have their place, I think, for horror.
Nice.
Both on the large screen and on the little screen.
Large screen, I think.
Yeah. Don't like the cheap, nasty crap.
Not.
Hey.
I think now, sort of more modern now, there's more of a space for stuff going straight to video as such.
Yeah.
Because we're getting some really good stuff that comes to streaming that does a complete miss of the cinema these days with what's happening with cinema anyway. Back then, I feel like it's a bit more cheesy, but then you might be into that. So if that's what you're after.
It depends on what tickles you fancy, doesn't it? But,
yeah, absolutely. Like if you're a bunch of mates and you're just home eating a pizza or something, and you're like, let's have a bit of cheese, let's have a laugh with it or something,
Exactly. I think that's what they're built for. But a lot of films now are being designed and made specifically for the streaming market. They're avoiding the cinemas altogether because they know the landscape has changed.
It has changed.
COVID changed a lot, and I think a lot of people weren't gravitating towards Netflix and Prime anyway. So these films are heading there as their first direct destination, purely because they know that this is where people are now watching their content. So I think straight to video, I get what you mean, Dave. Yeah, there is a lot of cheese out there, is. But some that are heading straight to streaming, straight to video, are very, very good and are deliberately designed to be so.
I think the difference is if you're planning on it being a cinema release thing, you've got to go, or at least nowadays, it's got to be a big, visually stunning thing. It's got to have so much money behind it.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's a space nowadays where you've got this lower budget, so CGIs might be a bit jank on some things.
I do it the same in ages, jank.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, there's that space for, well, we're not going to throw loads of money, we're not going to throw massive advertising budget, because a lot of these big films, the advertising budget alone is astronomical. And then they come out, we're seeing a lot of big films coming out as flops, even though the critics and the fans really love them. I'm sure you can list loads.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that now in today's landscape, there is that space for almost that direct to VHS.
Yeah,
because they're not going to spend a massive budget over the top on. I mean, look at the newest Borderlands film that's come out.
Yes. Yeah.
The budget for that was massive, and yet it's tanking.
Yeah.
So something like that might have been better if you hadn't have gone for the big movie, big screen release, without all the super special effects, but gave it to like a lesser cast of unknown, more unknown people.
They just made the wrong choice. Fallout went to a
exactly.
TV
There you go,
series.
yeah.
Same time, probably the similar sort of budget, but they chose the right platform, the right viewing audience, and it was a major success.
So bringing it back to what your original question was, I think there is a space, but maybe not back then for So I think it was cheesy, bargain bin stuff, straight to VHS back then.
All I'm going to say is Ginger Dead Man. This is the reason John's not here right now.
Passion of the Crust.
He's watching The Passion of the Crust.
We'll go to my final question then, and it's going to be the one that I've said on the last 2 episodes. But now these movies are reaching like 30 years old now. Do you think that they still hold up?
Yes.
Yes, to a degree. Much like any decade, I think you can pick holes in.
But you're not forgiving the 90s on this one.
We shall see.
We shall see.
It's that second list.
We shall see.
Nice. Then I don't have anything less to do unless you have a question for me. If not, we'll go straight to the top 5. Let's
go for it.
Let's do it then.
It's time for a top 5.
So anyone that hasn't followed us before, what we normally do is to decide who goes first. We roll our little 20 die with the little T-Rex inside, and we're going to roll it inside. Whoever gets the highest, we'll go around from there. Dave, if I get you to go first, mate. What we got?
7.
You go then, sir. You're next. Let's see if you can do it 3 weeks in a row.
12.
Okay. Come on, Anthony. Beat 12. Here we go.
No.
3.
So you got it for a 3rd week in a row. God damn it.
It's rigged.
Nice. So obviously we're going to start from how we're going to go clockwise. If we clash, keep it to yourself and you can have your 2 cents. If we don't mention your 90s movie, please comment below. Let us know. We'd like to hear what your 90s movie pick of choice was. Or you should have been on this episode. Number 5.
Number 5.
Or get your own fucking podcast.
Or get your own podcast. I don't want to... I want to keep saying that. People keep leaving us to start their own podcast. Howard, what are the 2 lists for the 90s?
We have, as the B list, The Secret Stash.
Okay.
I'll explain why in a second.
It's not porn.
It's not porn on this occasion, though. We have, as the A list, The Monster Mash.
He did the Monster Mash.
The Monster
Nice,
Mash.
okay.
Secret Stash. This is a list made of films that came out at the time. I watched, I enjoyed, chose to watch, as I said at the top of the podcast. Nobody knows about. Nobody, literally, you guys might. I'm going to say some of these and you're going to go, oh yeah, okay. The majority of viewers will probably be none the wiser. So this is my secret stash of films, my little guilty pleasures. The Monster Mash is purely monster heavy. It's monster driven.
Okay.
We all know these films. And these are why these 2 lists.
The 90s had plenty of monster movies. Wow. Okay.
Well,
I'm intrigued now.
okay. So, number 5.
Secret Stash.
Secret Stash.
Okay.
Kronos from 1992.
Okay.
Do you know this one?
Guillermo del Toro?
Guillermo del Toro.
Yes.
So this, I believe, was his first international feature film. Stars a cast of Spanish. I mean, to the westernized American UK culture, we wouldn't know a lot of these Spanish names. Fantastic actors. The most notable name within this list is Ron Perlman.
Yes. Oh.
So Ron Perlman stars as the nephew of dying philanthropist come millionaire. The premise of the plot is this. It starts off with a white-skinned ancient being who in modern day Madrid has been crushed underneath a collapsing tenement block. So this tenement block is collapsed. He's lying in the rubble, white skin, sort of marble skin. He's got he's been impaled through the heart. That's how it starts. Then we go into the main cast of characters. We've got an antiques dealer who has discovered a very nice, ornate, demonic-looking statue. Realises that in the base of this statue, there's a removable compartment. So he removes the compartment and he finds inside it kind of like a clockwork scarab.
Yes. It's like a golden one, isn't it?
A golden scarab. Is this coming back to you? Yep. So he accidentally pricks himself. It gets attached to him and it injects him. So he takes this thing off, thinks no more of it. A little while later, days, he realises that his hair is growing back. His hair is going dark. His skin is starting to have more elasticity to it. He's looking younger. He's feeling more vigorous. Because this guy, this antiques dealer, he must be in his late 60s. His wife notices it. His granddaughter notices it. That's the premise. So, Ron Perlman, as the nephew of this philanthropist, he turns up one day and he says to the antique shop that this guy owns, and he says, I want the statue. Where's the statue? Won't sell him the statue. Breaks into the shop, steals the statue, wrecks the shop. It starts proceeding from there more into the realms of a bit of cat and mouse, a bit of a chase. Basically, the pinprick that this thing gives you, it is imbuing you with eternal life. Because the antiques dealer suddenly realised that although, he's getting younger, he's feeling more vigorous, he's got energy, he's got strength, he now has a taste for blood. So the Kronos of the title is it's kind of like the god Kronos from Greek and Roman mythology, the god of time. It's turning back time for him, but it is unfortunately turning him into a modern day vampire. So this white skinned creature that we saw at the beginning was an alchemist. He had basically discovered the ability to push back death. You cannot die, or can you? So this guy, he's fighting off Ron Perlman, he's fighting off this millionaire and these kind of thugs and these gangsters, trying to protect his family whilst trying not to be discovered to be a modern day vampire. His skin starts peeling off as soon as he gets injured. Underneath, he discovers that there's this white kind of marble-esque residue, and he's turning into the alchemist from the very beginning. It's a wonderful film.
Mm-hmm. Was it his first film?
I think it was his very first film. It was an international release, and the Americans loved it so much that they actually said, "Right, great. Once it's had its European release, give us the rights, and then we can remake it for an American audience." He said no. He said because nobody really wants to see the likes of John Hurt or Jack Nicholson licking blood off of a bathroom floor.
Yeah.
Another scene from the film, folks.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So as a standalone first feature debut for Guillermo del Toro, I think it is absolutely brilliant. It's immaculately shot. It's got all of the kind of staples cinema that he delivers, and the scares are there. The ghoulish atmosphere is there. Everything that he's famous for now, and they would set up later for things like Hellboy or Pan's Labyrinth, it's all in this film.
All in there, definitely.
Yeah, it's very dark. It's the acting. So it's being a Spanish film, it's got Spanish subtitles, but I love world cinema.
Good man.
And it is not a turn off, and I would recommend that anybody go and see this film. So Kronos from 1992.
I absolutely hate the fact that has happened so much where like Hollywood goes, yeah, we really like that movie.
Yeah.
Now let's redo it.
Yeah.
And do it with completely different actors. That does irritate me a little bit.
Happens all the time, doesn't it?
I know it does, but
Did it bring your piss to a boil?
A little. It's not that much of a bugbear.
Really grinds my gears.
But it's it just if you really like it that much, why do you need to then just because it most of the time they fall flat, don't they?
Because it's the quest for more cash.
Yeah.
Or if people aren't aware of the original, then it gets overshadowed, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But also, it's just people being lazy and not wanting to read subtitled films.
Pretty much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, even though America has quite a high, substantial Spanish-speaking population.
Yeah, but probably in the 90s they didn't really care. They weren't the target market for Hollywood at that point, were they?
Alas, probably no.
Exactly, yeah. More full Hollywood.
Absolutely. So what were Hollywood doing in the 90s? At number 5 for my Monster Mash, I've got Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, all right.
Love
that movie.
So tempted to put that in.
Definitely a monster film. I think we've pretty much established the...
It's a shark movie, mate. You had me at Deep Blue.
It's a shark movie,
love
yeah.
this movie.
The majority of us love Jaws, but the majority of us love sharks. What hasn't it got? You guys have already done a commentary corner on it.
I was just about to say we watched that, didn't we?
We did, yes.
It's been talked about before.
Had you not seen it before?
No, that was
the first time I've seen it, yeah.
It's been talked about numerous times now, so I won't go too deep into
Into the deep blue
sea about this whole thing. There's a research facility. They're looking, I believe, it's been a while since I've seen it, but they're looking for the cure for Alzheimer's.
Yeah, it's like a
Yes, it is,
dementia
or something, isn't it?
something along those lines. They've discovered that if they increase and maximise the size of sharks' brains,
Make them smarter.
Yeah,
Which is a good idea.
did
from
not
the off.
consider this, did they? It would produce a chemical that they could extract, and then they could use it in the cure for Alzheimer's, dementia, whatever it is that they are looking for. I think basically that's it. That's all you need to know, because these smarter sharks have then decided that, they're not having any of this. They want to bust out of this facility. They want to go out into the big bad world, and they're going to take it out on the scientists that have been
You
experimenting.
need to go in how cool that little setup they have is in that film. They've got like
in the lab and they bring it up.
Well, no, it's in the middle of the ocean. It's not like on the shoreline or something, like a little SeaWorld or something. It's in the middle of the ocean, isn't it? And you've got these sort of open top pens, haven't you? So with like the fences around and things.
Right.
And then most of the facility is obviously deep in the sea. So that already adds like a lot of fear elements to people for like...
It does. It's the isolation effects. For films like The Thing, even films like Hunt for Red October, as soon as you isolate your heroes or hero and place them in somewhere where they cannot escape from, that's got audiences.
Shit's about to get real.
But it's also it's not just isolation. You've got that whole fear. A lot of people were terrified of drowning in it or being in a confined space underwater.
And being eaten by sharks.
Well, yeah, there is that. But you add that extra innate fear of drowning and being trapped underwater and things like that and having to hold your breath for as long as you can. And that already amps it up. And then you add a big fucking shark into it as well.
Yeah.
Wait, what more?
Just no.
I mean, this film has got a lot. Again, it's wonderfully filmed. The acting goes a little bit sideways sometimes, but on the whole, it's a decent enough
But
turnout.
it's still in a good way, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and
It's
it adds to the effect of the film, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got Samuel L. Jackson putting in a cameo. You've got LL Cool J who acts his nuts off.
And survives.
And survives, yeah. Unfortunately, his parrot does not. But I think it sits nicely alongside
You
film.
and my bird.
Doing a film on the sea, gonna have a bird, a parrot.
Of course you do. Absolutely.
I've absolutely no doubt. He said, "Yeah, I'll do this film, but I've got one request:
Shitloads of money
and a parrot."
and a parrot.
It sits nicely alongside films like Jaws and
Thomas Jane's in it as well.
Oh, and Thomas Jane, obviously, yeah. So he's your hero of the piece, and another good turnout for Thomas Jane, actually.
Yeah.
Like I said, you've covered it. I won't talk at length because I've got two lists of these things. So
Go and watch the commentary corner.
Yes, or listen to it.
That led me into the little bit promo piece. Please go and watch the commentary corner, folks, because it's very enjoyable.
Anything else on Deep Blue Sea?
No.
Okay. My number 5 was so close to being The Faculty. I love The Faculty. Okay. Just like Mario at the back here, I love Robert Rodriguez and I love that version. It's another invasion of the body snatchers, but if it was done by the writers of Scream, spoiler alert there, guys. But unfortunately, it wasn't, because I had to have a deep think about a movie that came out the same time that year. The year is 1999, and I had to put the Blair Witch Project on there. Reason for that, I put it on there because the hype train for this movie, the marketing for this movie was phenomenal for such a small independent movie that was, at the time, had the record for most made movie for independent film, wasn't it? Because I think the movie only cost like 30,000 to make, and they raked him like over 100 million on its opening weekend.
It was astronomical.
But does anyone remember the marketing for this movie?
Well, it was the whole found film footage.
Yeah, it was a documentary, and they put a website out. They were actually looking for these people and all that sort of stuff. Posters everywhere. There were symbols everywhere in the cinema. There was merchandise. There was people wearing badges of just like the Blair Witch Project. Movie hadn't even come out yet. Nobody knows what it means. It could have been anything. But it was you couldn't get past 99 without knowing what Blair Witch was. And I remember seeing the opening weekend, and it was a packed out cinema. No matter what screen it was packed out. Everyone wanted to see this, and they kind of it's not everyone's. It's a very Marmite film. It's very you love or hate it. I liked it because it's one where it makes you use your imagination, and that's how it's the whole less is more aspect to it, isn't it? But I remember like everyone was really just like not enjoying themselves in it. But that very, very last shot, which you cannot deny, and she's there holding the camera, screaming her ass off. Everyone, I guarantee everyone in that cinema shat themselves and thought something was going to happen next. And then unfortunately the movie just ends. And then, that whole scene itself when she's in that house and they're just looking around and it's all, you got the two different cameras and his camera goes down, so something's happened to him. So she's in that house, very much like Ripley again, all in that house all on her own with whatever's in there. It just gives me chills thinking about it. But yeah, the marketing for it is what made this movie.
Yeah, it was genius.
Yes.
And nothing like it had come before. And I don't think it's really been measured up to since.
There's a lot of stuff that's tried to emulate that.
Yeah, definitely. And it hasn't even come close, I don't think.
No,
not really.
They've never redone anything.
Degree. Not to that.
Yeah, marketing to that degree at all. There's no way they've done that at all.
I think it has that special place, doesn't it? It was top of my honourable mentions, Blair Witch, because it was genre defining at the time, like you've said.
Yeah,
and it was something completely new.
Yes,
that hadn't been done in film. That sort of found footage thing.
I believe it had been done, but it was a straight to video thing. That's what I was trying to get at. It was a movie called The Last Broadcast,
but it's
then Blair Witch did it.
No one remembers that.
No, exactly. That's the issue. No one does. No.
So,
but in case anyone's watching, and they're like, "Get it right."
Well, you've got it right for it.
That's all right. So just let you know.
But all right, sorry.
No, I'm just letting them. Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, what was my point?
Genre defining.
It is the genre defining moment because after that, you had so many things trying to emulate that whole feel of it, and there's nothing quite that puts you in the shoes of the protagonist, is there? Because you're literally watching through their eyes almost via a camera, aren't you?
Yeah.
So that whole element, and there have been other successes that have. Like, what was that film, the Korean one that you showed us that you were terrified of, where they go and investigate?
Oh, Gunjami, the Haunted House Asylum.
That was so good. And a lot of that is found footage,
oh my God, yeah.
Again, another recommendation, go watch.
Gunjami.
Yeah, don't know how you spell it, but go watch that. But
not as in the language, as in like Gunjami, the Haunted Asylum it's called, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only just come out on Blu-ray in this country. Go watch it, it's very good.
That was really good. But I think you cannot undersell the importance of that film to the horror genre. The only reason I didn't put it on is personally because I respect what it did, but I just can't be dealing with the shaky.
No, that's absolutely fine. I mean, again, fan footage is it's a Marmite thing, isn't it? You love it or hate it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not everybody's cup of tea. That final scene, I'm like you, Dave. I'll watch it. I wouldn't go back and revisit it, but that final scene gave me sleepless nights for
I mean,
a long time.
The shot where the camera's on a quarter of her face as well. It's like the iconic shot that's in the poster and everything as well. And just the dialogue she comes up with, and very cleverly they have like the blackness behind you of the forest. Like she says lines like, "I'm scared to close my eyes, and I'm scared to open them," and you can just feel it for her at that time. And like again, the movie does nothing but just that last 15 minutes. It just hit me then. I was like, I had to put this in because I can't deny it did give me some chills. And I know it's different with everyone, but that one, and I know like, a lot of people tell me, fucking shit, nothing fucking happened, you didn't see anything. Worst 82 minutes of my time. But for me, it did have an impact on me. It wasn't as good as I wanted it to be because the marketing hyped up very much, but I still got something out of it. I don't own the movie or can't go back to it, but it had an impact. So that's why I had to go on the list for the 90s.
And I think for the wider sort of impact of it.
Yeah.
Not just to you as well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, it broke records at its time. So And
I think Dave's right. It did affect the next 25 years of horror movies. The way that they were produced, the way that they were marketed, the way people were growing a little bit fatigued, I think, by certain types of horror, and that just gave a NOS injection back into horror at the cinema, and people were flocking back.
I think just before we move on from it, another good thing it does is if you watch a lot of horror, you can start seeing when things are coming, can't you?
Yes.
So, like, you know, for example, just picking an example out of the hat, if the music suddenly goes quiet or something, or conversely, you get a tension building sort of soundtrack come over the top. This is completely different, and it sort of did away with all of those classic horror.
No jump scares or anything like that, or
yeah, in the it's suddenly gone quiet, or the camera's shifted to look over the shoulder of the person. So if you watch a lot of horror, you might be thinking something's going to pop out now or do something.
And it just didn't.
Which it completely pulls that rug out from underneath you. So
no music, no nothing. Yeah. It was just all handheld footage that they just went with.
Kind of rewrote that whole aspect and showed maybe filmmakers you can do different style of horror where you don't rely on the old fashioned techniques of scaring people.
That's it. So yeah, that's my number 5, Blair Witch Project from 1999.
Nice.
Dave, what's yours?
My number 5.
Number 5. So I keep forgetting we do that when you're here.
My number 5 is From Dusk Till Dawn.
Nice. Yeah, respect.
You cannot make me take this off my fucking list because it's my fucking list and I just love it. This is, it's effectively a vampire story. The first bit you're following to...
96 this was, it came out.
Yeah.
And then nearly 30 years old, yeah.
Yeah. Again, makes me feel old. But yeah. So this follows two... Are they bank robbers? I think they're
yes, they are, yes.
Yeah, they're heists.
And they've done a heist and they're going to... they're sort of fleeing, doing a bit of general raping and stuff on the way to try and flee into Mexico, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, they're going to meet their contact in Mexico.
They're going to go and meet their contact in a particular bar called the
Titty Twister.
Titty
Twister. I thought you were going to say it.
I thought you might want to say it.
I don't know.
Yeah, so they go to meet the Titty Twister, which is like a biker and like a truck stop sort of bar with titties.
Yeah,
because
and there's a lot of them in there.
And there is a lot of titties, and that's not why I like it. It's not just for, but yeah,
maybe why he likes it.
And then
it's the Selma Hayek, right? Come on, let's face it.
And Dancing with a Snake, isn't there?
Yes.
And titties and snakes. Just
number 4.
And it turns out when they go in there, they're enjoying. You know, they arrive at the bar. Turns out most of the people in that fucking bar, apart from a few, are big fucking vampires.
What a twist of a 180 of a story there, right?
And it comes quite far in as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You've had like the build up to it, and you're not quite sure where it's. If you don't look at the title too hard, you might not assume it's going to be specifically a vampire movie. They could just be trying to outrun the law or something like that. But then, yeah, everything kicks off. There's a really good big fight scene.
Yeah.
Where it all all the vampires sort of come out. They start tearing people apart. Characters get bitten, things like that. And then, yeah, they're literally trying to just survive that night until the dawn comes and
saves them.
And saves them effectively. And I just love this because it's got all the gore.
Great
soundtrack, yeah.
Harvey Keitel.
And you've got...
Yeah, great actors.
And you've got the little fucking pistol in a belt buckle.
The gore, the practical effects for all the stuff as well. It's so good. It's on point with everything.
Little pistol in a belt buckle. So...
The Willy pistol.
The Willy pistol.
So ridiculous.
Tom Savini at his best, mate.
He wasn't a vampire in that film, was he?
No.
He does turn into one.
But he wasn't original.
No. He's just...
What the fuck?
Yeah. He literally got a belt buckle that pings open and a little pistol comes out.
Yeah.
Like, what? Who thought of that? That is just
nice
genius.
cameo from Cheech and Chong in that as well.
Yeah.
This piece of shit here, man. Broke my finger and my nose.
And it turns out right at the end, after, certain people have been bitten and turned, others have been killed and brutally and things like that. When the one of the last shots, it pans out round the back of the bar, and it turns out it's the very top of like a Mayan pyramid.
Yeah, it's such a cool little like last minute twist again.
So you've got this weird, the whole sort of backside of it is excavated, and you can see like this stepped pyramid going down. So it's kind of like, is this?
It's nice to explain why they're there.
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
something to do with ancient Mayan or Aztec. Not quite sure which one.
Is it a hellmouth?
Yeah, or is it some sort of ritual? Is it like I don't know. I don't think it's really explained.
No,
but
I don't know if they go into it in the sequels, because again, sequels were straight to video,
maybe then
wouldn't they? So
you can go too far with something much like Blair Witch. It's ended with people's imaginations going into overload.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Because
why
you've
it's
been
there.
following,
It's great.
because you've been following the characters and rooting for them to survive. I don't think it's that necessary because some of them survive, so you've got that sort of happy ending, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah, no, like I said, it literally is the last shot of the frame of the shot, isn't it? And I think it's just there as an explanation as to why we bumped into vampires on this heist escape at the end of the day. So,
because they don't want them to come in at first, do they? They're very like, and there's like, this is our bar. It's a bikers.
It's for
bar.
bikers and truckers
And
only.
Truckers only. Yeah.
You
so they really
get it. I can't remember the amount of times I've seen this movie.
they really don't want them in, but
Danny Trejo, isn't it? So that, yeah, see.
yeah,
He should have been on this episode, I'm telling you.
Well, I'll do it for you in spirit.
He's got it for you.
I love that film. It's not.
But did you know of the movie before you watched it? So did you know it was going to be a vampire film halfway through?
No, I think one of my long-term friends, I went around his house and we watched this on like a sleepover. As like a he pinched it from his dad.
Yeah.
And he was like,
Not a hooky copy. It was
no, it wasn't a hooky copy. It was just like, I think, and I watched
Let's watch
it.
his dad's porn and it ended up being from Dusk Till Dawn or something.
we couldn't fucking find that. So
It's not porn.
yeah,
It's not porn.
titty twister. but yeah, we found that and we watched that. So I went into it completely blind. I was like,
Right, okay.
I just thought it was
You
going to
came out blind as well.
Did anyone else know that about the movie, that it was going to change halfway through, be a vampire film?
No, I was sold on the fact that it was Tarantino and Clooney.
Yeah.
Completely had me sold right up until that point, and then bam, it just changes on a knife edge and becomes a completely different movie.
Yeah.
And I think it's done so well because no fucker was expecting it, and I don't think even the trailers, the marketing, I don't think anybody had put that out there. The fact that it had a supernatural edge to it. So yeah, brilliantly done.
Did you know that Captain Rhodes from Day of the Dead was going to be George Clooney's character?
Oh really?
Did you know that at all?
No, I did not know.
There is a original teaser trailer for this movie on YouTube, and it has him in the trailer.
Right.
And it's just him dancing in the outfit, and he's with Quentin Tarantino sort of stuff. And I don't remember the reason why it didn't go through the last minute, why George Clooney took over, but he was actually going to be in that movie. I can't remember the actor's name, but yeah, Captain Rhodes from
probably just because they got
Day of the
George
Dead.
Clooney, isn't it?
Anything else on that?
No, I think I've covered that. I think I've mentioned it before as well.
It was in your vampire episode.
Yes.
In top 5 of the vampires last year. So yeah,
vampires.
nice. Let's go to number 4s.
Number 4.
Back to Howard then for number 4, Schlock. Is it not the Schlock?
it wasn't.
No,
Schlock.
That was last week.
Forward to the
This
90s.
is Secret Stash.
Secret Stash, beg your pardon.
Stash,
Secret Stash.
yes.
And then
So
sponsors in it.
My number 4 Secret Stash is a film that was originally a 2-part TV serial from 1998 called Creature.
Okay.
Adapted from a novel called Great White by an author called Peter Benchley. Creature. The premise is quite simple. It's about marine experimentation. We know what Peter Benchley is famous for. He created a serial of films called Jaws from his novel, the big American novel. I like this film because it's sedate. It goes under the radar a little bit. It's on this list for that very reason. No fucker's heard of it. But it tells a nice little story that sidesteps from monster discovers human beings, monster eats human beings hunt monster, etc., etc. Human beings kill monster. So essentially, what's his name? What's the actor's name? I want to say Dan T. Nelson, but that's
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
a colleague of ours, isn't it? And Kim Cattrall. They're marine biologists, and they have discovered a container. They've managed to get hold of this container at a facility that had been cast into the ocean many, many years before because a particular scientist had been experimenting on marine life. One of them was a great white shark.
Okay.
So many, many years later on this, I want to say Caribbean island, but it's probably one of the islands off of the coast of America. It's been brought to shore. It's been brought to this marine facility. and it's been opened, and lo and behold, this creature is still alive after 25 years, and it goes on a bit of a killer rampage. What's different about this film is that it's not just as straightforward as that. It's not a case of hunt the monster, monster finds you, monster eats you, etc., etc. It can evolve itself. So it was experimented to the degree where it would adapt to its environment. The creature of the film.
Hence why it can survive that long.
And it physically sort of grows arms in front of some of the characters, and it grows legs, and it becomes this man shark. And yeah, it's a bit cheesy because it's got man shark. It's got that straight to video quality about it. Unfortunately, I mean,
and it was for TV, you say?
It was originally a two-part TV serial, which they then melded together, a bit like It. So the original It became a film in its own right when they released it on VHS. The same thing happened to this. So it's got those Jaws elements. It's got a lot of Benchley's the nice tropes that he throws into his stories. It's got the relationship element. It's got the fear factor. It's got the fact that this small island is in peril. The community is being attacked. All of the same sort of shtick that goes into Jaws, but just with a slightly different spin on it. And that's why I like it, and that's why I've stuck it on this.
I can imagine it being such a small budget, you don't really get to see an awful lot or anything.
You'll be surprised, actually. Yeah, towards the end you do. And some of it is a man in a suit. There's
Man shark.
Man suit shark. There's some CGI thrown in. But for the nice twist on the Jaws theme, that's why I like it. It's a good old monster mash.
Nice. Okay, so what is...
Even though it's on my secret stash.
It's a secret stash, though, yeah. So what's the Monster Mash?
The actual Monster Mash is 1993's Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh!
You don't like this film, do you?
God, no.
Because by this point...
Oh, mind you, it's 90s, isn't it now?
It's 1990s, and by this point, he has become a monster. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's like a parasitic monster, isn't it, in a way?
Well, that's
this movie just goes balls to the walls. It's ridiculous. We were talking about Hellraiser 2 being violent. This is,
it's pretty nasty as well, especially when some of the bodies start decomposing and melting in front of you, and it's got the whole Necronomicon element.
It's in it as well. It has a cameo.
Necronomicon, so from Evil Dead, it plays a part, and I think so does the Kandarian dagger.
Yes, it does.
That's lying on the table in the old house, isn't it? The old Voorhees house. It's not just about slasher, killer, horror. You've thrown in the zombie-esque cult type, bringing people back from the dead element, and he has been brought back from the dead, and he is a monster. That's what makes this one different, and I enjoy it differently to the others because he's not Jason Voorhees anymore. Kane Hodder plays him immaculately. I think Kane Hodder
at the start, isn't it? Yeah, because he gets blown up.
that first bit with the SWAT team where they've deliberately set a honey trap in order to try and catch him. I think that's brilliant. There's elements of that scene that aren't because it's not filmed very well, but I think the idea is really, really good, and it wasn't done like that before because you simply had the same old premise of camp counselors at Crystal Lake. Jason comes back to life, Jason returns, whatever, and he starts chomping his way through them one by one. Well, this now opens it up to the broader world. The world knows about Jason Voorhees. He is now, I believe the news article says that he's America's most wanted #1 killer, isn't he?
That's right, yes.
Yeah, so everybody now knows about the legend of Jason Voorhees. SWAT go out to get him, and they blow him the fuck up.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, even his head spins up in the air and it lands on the ground. Brilliant. I thought that was excellent. This was not a great entry for Friday the 13th, but as a film, if you look at it slightly to the left of the franchise itself, I think it's quite enjoyable because there's...
It's got like the body horror side to it as well in a way. Right. It's the whole parasitic thing of him traveling from body to body. Then, like you said, the other body decays.
Yeah, and I actually liked that element.
Really?
Because I think,
he has to go back into a Voorhees to become
to be reborn.
Good God.
I liked it.
I shouldn't diss it. Sorry.
No. Look. You're absolutely entitled to your opinion, mate. If you don't like it, don't like it.
I'm like you. It had the idea. I don't think it delivered because of the filmmakers that did it at the time. Were very young kids at the time.
And as I said with that SWAT team scene.
Yeah, as I say, that's a good part.
It wasn't filmed very well.
No.
The whole film wasn't filmed very well. Everybody put in a good performance. I think the idea was brilliant. A lot of the makeup...
Very rushed as well, wasn't it?
It was very rushed. Yeah, they needed to get it out there. But a lot of the makeup, I think that was due to rights.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
A lot of the makeup, the costumes.
Because I think it transitioned over to New Line Cinema at the time, then didn't it?
Yeah, they needed to get it in quick. All of those elements were really, really good. But yeah, it was just the storytelling was okay, but it was just such a rushed production that it sucked balls a little bit. But I like it for that fact because it did something slightly different. And introducing the parasite. I thought when I first saw it, I was like, this is not my Jason. But then I suddenly understood what they were doing. If you can wash all of that to one side and you get if you take the first scene of the film and the final scene of the film where he comes back to life. So he's been reborn from the womb of another Voorhees. How many could be possibly left? I mean, the name was becoming synonymous with Hitler, wasn't it? I mean, basically, there were no more Voorhees left. So he's reborn at the very end, and he leaps up through the floorboards, and he's alive, and he's still got the costume from the very beginning. He's got his machete, and he needs to go on.
Where did he get that from?
Don't ask questions.
No cares. But the very final shot, sir.
The very final shot. So, he's being dragged to hell, and his giant arms and his giant hands come out and start dragging him back to hell, hence the name of the title. The mask gets pulled slightly under, so you think that he's gone. The couple walk off into the distance, into the sunset, as they always do, and then you hear this laugh, and you see this claw, and this glove with these blades comes out and pulls the rest of the mask into the dirt. And that's when we knew that we were going to get Freddy versus Jason.
Yes.
That's really why it's on here, because they were guiding it in a particular direction. They brought it into the New Line world. Crossover. And for years, people were saying that this thing needed to happen, that they should exist within the same universe. And lo and behold, they were going to do it. I mean, it took, another decade for it to happen?
Near enough, yeah.
Yeah, it was about
that,
it was
2003, wasn't it?
2003. Yeah, it took a decade for it to happen eventually, but that's why I like it. But Jason himself, he's become this supernatural monster. He's no longer a killer. He's not a Michael Myers. He's not a character from Scream. He is now this monster. So that's why he exists on my Monster Mash for number 4.
Nice. I'm very surprised you like that one. But you are a Jason fan at the end of the day, so it makes sense.
And it's the characterization of Jason within that film that I like, not necessarily the film itself.
And you didn't think that him becoming like a supernatural monster took away from Jason, the character? Well, I think we've discussed this a bit before.
Yeah, I think we did, didn't we?
But Halloween, wasn't it?
Ant and I share a love of Friday the 13th Part 6. Now, in Friday the 13th Part 6, essentially he's brought back from the dead and becomes a zombie. Jason is now a zombie.
Officially a zombie in that one, isn't he?
Officially an undead zombie. So from that point onwards, that's where the character changed. You've seen in Part 7, you see in Part 8, there's absolutely no way that he could theoretically survive any of what he goes through. I mean, it wasn't underwater for like one whole year until the next film came out. Of course.
It wasn't a criticism. It was just interesting to hear your take on that.
So from Part 6 onwards, I look at him as a different type of character.
And you like that evolution?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely. Cool. Less said about Jason X, the better.
might be next week's list.
Another decade, yeah.
Anything else on Jason Goes to Hell, sir?
No.
Nice. So you picked Jason for your pick. So mine will be Freddy Krueger for my number 4 with Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Yeah. By far, apart from number 3, my favourite sequel of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise.
Okay.
Why I like this so much is because I love how Wes Craven has decided to come back. And he's not just made a Freddy Krueger movie. This is a Freddy Krueger movie with such a big difference now, where it's not about stalking kids and getting revenge and stupid, pathetic dreams that he tries to get them through. No, this is how do we make this different from the other 7 movies that we've got? Let's tackle real life. Now, let's go through the phase of Heather Langenkamp, who plays Nancy in the Nightmare on Elm Street series. And let's treat it like it's going through her life in real life, like it's the the backlash of the movies, how people recognise her from these movies, and how people recognise her, Robert Englund from this, and how he has more style because everyone likes Freddie rather than Nancy, but will affect them to their day-to-day lives, and how we look back at the behind the scenes of the movies and stuff like that. And there's all these rumours that, Wes Craven will write a new one and he'll bring it back. And it's like, well, Freddy's dead. Or, kids love horror. We'll bring it back and whatnot. And it's just how, as the movie goes along, like the opening is done, it looks like it's real life, but it's a dream sequence at the end. But then the rest of the movie plays on you if this is actually happening in real life or if it is an actual dream. And it goes on for quite a bit. But there's parts where her son, her real son, gets affected by Freddy. He's watching Freddy films and she thinks, he's, he's obviously too young to watch these sort of movies, but she thinks he's getting affected. But no, this is actually a different Freddy now that's been haunting all these actors and stuff that have been in the movies before. Obviously Freddy's dead, but this other Freddy is now coming back to all haunt him now and tease him, terrify them, whatnot. And I just absolutely love that because he could have just done another Freddy movie, but he thought, you know what, let's go completely balls to the walls and do something different. And that's why, for me, it stands out. The design of the new Freddy is great, even though he's kind of got a Hansel and Gretel witch look to him, but it still works. And, Robert Englund delivers as always. I mean, you can't have Freddy without Robert Englund today. Heather Langenkamp's fantastic as always. I like her as an actress. I like that she still acts today and doesn't just rely on the Freddy Krueger series as well. The new design of the glove, the new Freddy glove in this as well, he actually has the blade on his thumb now this time, because a lot of people have always thought he has it on the thumb, but he never does it? He's always on the forefinger. But it's actually all fingers on this one. What else is there? The reason it wasn't higher on my list, because I am a Freddy Krueger fan, is because I don't like the ending to it as much. I thought if the ending wasn't, how do I say this? Like I said, I mentioned before, it's very like the Hansel and Gretel look to it, but when they actually go to hell in the end or go to Freddy's lair, it's like he's still playing as the witch, trying to get the kids into the oven sort of thing. And you sort of see the hidden message of it, but there's like a couple of scenes that go a bit too comic-y with the whole, or comedic, should I say, with the whole dream sequence things, like Freddy's mouth getting totally wide, a whole massive child and all that sort of stuff. Went too far-fetched for me. I said that for a Freddy film. It shouldn't really go too far-fetched, but I just love how this is, like, when someone dies in this movie, does Heather dream this, or has someone actually died in this film? And then we don't find out till later on that either does or affects or not. And other things happen in this movie that reflect to the first movie as well. And then we actually get a cameo from the legend himself, Wes Craven, who talks about how he's writing this film. And then I love how there's a shot in this movie where they're just talking, like it's like a normal meeting they have for a movie feed. And then we cut back to where Wes Craven has his little laptop or computer in the background. And whatever they're saying is actually in the script in the background as well. It's so clever how it's done. There's a cool little action scene where her child's running on the road and she ducks and dives under this 18-wheeler tanker thing. It's a clever shot. It's very obviously easily done. It's just like with projector in the background, but how it's done, it looks like it's actually right there and there. There is just so much to this movie. There's even lines that the kid delivers it really well, how he's like, shocked by all these things. There's a scene where he's like on a kid's climbing frame, whatnot, and he's reaching out to the sky and he falls and trips, but Heather catches him just in time. And she's like, why would you do such a thing? Why would you do that? He's like, God wouldn't take me. And I'm like, oh man, this is just like really, hit me, sort of thing. But yeah, just fantastic. And I'm kind of glad it's not low on the list. But like I said, the ending is the reason it sort of like ruins it and could have been a better. Look, what I'm trying to say is I think the movie stays at a certain level and then the ending just like, no, let's dip it down here now. And it's like, you didn't need that. You could have just kept it to that. But yeah, I've gone too far on that. But yeah. Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's New Nightmare. I had to do it. Yeah. And I'm glad Wes Craven came back for the last one. The last official one with Roman anyway. But yeah, that's my number 4.
Well, my number 4.
Number 4, David.
Number 4.
It feels a little bit like a cheat because it's a bit sci-fi. It is Predator 2.
No, I'd put it in the category of horror as well.
Well, it's my list and I'm doing it. So.
Yeah, it's fine. I'd put it in there. It's fine.
I
like Predator 2. Predator 2 is underrated.
It is, and this was the first one I watched.
Do you know what? I think it was mine as well, to be honest.
I watched Predator 2 first, then went back and watched the original Predator.
Yeah.
And I was so like, these two are so different in...
Yes.
So...
Which is good.
I really like it. So
it is good because we see it all the time. To capitalise with a sequel on a film that did really well, they just remake the original.
Yeah.
They didn't do it with that one.
No.
what I like about Predator 2 is obviously the first one is set in the jungle.
Yes, yep.
And you've got all that that sort of like camouflage, natural camouflage, you know, it fits in. You've got that sort of hiding in amongst the trees and stuff, and you think, okay, yeah, things could hide in the jungle. And obviously you've got a smear called mud on me, you know, to like survive. But then this takes the apex hunter and puts it in the city.
Yes.
In amongst turf war between, is it Colombians and Jamaicans? Or
yeah.
it's
just the beginning bit is just the cops and the Colombians, and then later on the Jamaicans come in,
so
King Willie.
Yeah, King Willie. Oh, yeah. I'm going to talk about him in a sec. But so yeah, it takes the predator, the ultimate hunter, puts it in the city, and you think, okay, how would the predator be able to survive in the city? There, you know, you've got cops on hand, you can call in all sorts of assets and things like this, but the predator is here to hunt, you know, and is challenging himself to hunt in that new environment. So I like that change from, let's face it, quite a sort of natural empty environment to like a more sort of built up city environment. There's lots of really nice shots of them on rooftops and things as well,
definitely,
which I quite like. And yeah, so, and you just mentioned King Willie. The thing that the scene that stands out from this movie for me is that shot where he's in the alleyway.
Yes,
and the
it
predator
comes down,
gets him from above,
right.
And he literally rips his head off with his spine.
It's the walking part when it walks in the camouflage over the water.
Yeah.
It's so clever for then.
The special effects in this were really good for the time as well, and I think they still hold up.
It's really, I think it's gorier than the first one as well.
It's definitely, it's more gory.
Yeah.
You've got and another thing about the Predator that I really like is you've got the flayed bodies hanging upside down inside like the apartment blocks and things like that. Oh, when I watched that, because obviously, again, I was sort of teenager, so that
same,
really,
yeah.
That fucking freaked me out, you know, seeing the head get pulled out as well, and then having later on in the films scenes with the bodies all completely flayed. I think that was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that.
Because what year was this? Was it 92?
92, 93, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think I watched it in that year, though. I think I watched it later on.
Right.
But my first experience of the Predator movies. And you, like I say, and they even try to hunt him, don't they? They try to, later on in the film, don't they use the...
Gary motherfucking Busey.
They try to use, is it like they're trying to camouflage themselves using UV...
Yeah, so they figure out he uses it, so they use it back on them, don't they?
And they're trying to freeze him, aren't they?
Yes.
At some
they
point.
are. Yeah.
So they're trying to catch the predator. It doesn't fucking work, of course, because it's the fucking predator.
Yeah.
What you tried, you know.
But there are some. I love that scene because there are so many cool shots of how his technology works.
Yeah.
Because we know that he's
got
got
a thing.
Yeah, like the laser cannon as well. We always know he has that, but in this one, it actually folds into his shoulder and it comes out, and there's like a camera shot where it pans over to it. It's so cool. I love that shot.
And the little 3 fucking laser dots.
That's it. Yeah. And then, like you said, the frisbee as well. Yeah.
Oh, lots of chopping up and good predator goodness. And and then eventually he actually dies, though, doesn't he?
Yes.
Spoilers?
Who does?
The predator.
Yes. Yeah.
And I like it because this is the bit where you get the because you also get the other bit which I don't think's in first Predator, where he doesn't kill the pregnant lady.
Yeah, so it's like setting the rules, isn't it?
Yeah, he could send the Predator could tell that one of the characters is early pregnant, so massacres everyone else pretty much.
But it doesn't hurt her.
Doesn't hurt her. I don't think we touch on that. We don't cover that at all on the first one, do we?
No.
So this is an expansion of like the Predator mythos, isn't it? Because the Predator doesn't want to kill the next
anyone
generation.
That's not armed or something, isn't it? Well,
it's the pregnancy thing. So you wouldn't kill like pregnant females because then you'd cull the next generation.
Yes.
But also, I think there's no sport in it as well.
And there's no sport, yeah. But so that you sort of get that, and then at the end you get the other predators come to collect the body, don't you? And I love that. So they because you
his body, isn't it?
The main predator from the film who's been killed, and you also get to see inside the ship as well.
Yes,
which is
definitely
fucking awesome.
Yes.
And what do we see inside the ship, Dave?
Are you talking about the little pistol?
No.
I'm talking about
The collection.
Oh, the
Collection
collection
of
of the
skulls.
different skulls, yeah, all the different alien skulls. Is it? Am I wrong? Do we see an old flintlock pistol at some point? In the
Yes,
film?
there
he
is a
gives them
flintlock
the.
They give them,
yeah.
It's which then links into the Prey film, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
Because that's the pistol that they use in the Prey film. Should have done a Did You Know, but I wasn't certain. I couldn't remember. Belatedly.
We'll put it in.
Did you know that's the pistol from the Prey series?
And then going back to the other one, the skull collection, what's in there?
We've got a xenomorph skull.
We do.
Setting up Alien versus Predator.
Well, it did. It set up. That's what set up all the comics and stuff, didn't it? Really,
Yeah.
just that one tiny shot that's 2 seconds long, and they're like, "Oh, look, there's a alien thing there," and look what it spawned.
Yeah.
It was kind
Video
of
games.
Well, it was
comics.
a no-brainer. Dark Horse had the license for Aliens at the time, and I think they just got Predator, and this film came out. And much like the Freddy Jason scenario, chatter becomes something more. They push it further, and they suddenly realise that I think a little bit of money could be made out of this. But why the hell not? Because
Absolutely.
they can exist within the same universe. So yeah, a little bit of fan pleasing, but what a setup.
And yeah, I think Predator 2 is definitely sort of underappreciated.
Oh, absolutely.
I really like Predator 2.
Because it didn't have Arnie, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was in the city, so people didn't like that.
But then I think, like I've just said, I think the city gives it a new sort of spin on it and things.
Absolutely.
And you think it adds that. I think it would be easier to hunt something in a jungle where you've not got anyone around, kind of thing.
Well, the city is a man-made construct. So I suppose the theory is that man should be stronger within the city environment in order to be able to combat the predator, who maybe within the jungle would have the edge.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was
That's a good point. Yeah. You've got your safety doors, security systems, police, whatever. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. So yeah, Predator.
I'm
2.
so glad you picked it. I do love Predator.
Well,
2.
I didn't know whether to put it on because it's sci-fi as well, but sci-fi.
I mean,
horror.
I would say it's horrific as well. I mean, definitely.
Anyway,
Well, I mean, like Alien. Alien is a sci-fi
Exactly.
film at its heart, but it still has that horrifying element to it. So.
I wanted to
And
put
it
it.
is also the movie that, that makes out that Bill Paxton has been killed by a predator, an alien, and a Terminator.
Oh yes.
So
yeah.
yes, Predator 2. It's
Nice.
on my list because it is.
That's number 4s. Let's go to number 3s.
Number 3.
Howard, back to you, sir. Secret Stash.
Secret
I've got to write this time.
Yeah, even I got a bit confused. Right, Secret Stash number 3 is Brain Dead.
Oh, nice. All right.
So the theory of my Secret Stash is that nobody is really familiar with the films on this list. I know that Ant knows this film very well. We have got 1992's Brain Dead, which I believe is Peter Jackson's first film, his second
film. Bad Taste was number 1.
Bad Taste was number 1. Brain Dead. I think with the horror theme, we're kind of noticing that the majority of us like zombie films. And this is, it's hot, it's out and out zombie gore, it's zombie splatter. This film, I think, has been touted as having the most blood in any film ever. Even so that they pumped it into the nearby river to get rid of it.
Wow.
Yeah, locals were complaining. Where do I start?
Where do you start?
Let's talk about the rat monkey.
Singaya.
If you believe the story, a rat monkey so created because plague rats raped some monkeys and created this creature on Skull Island.
I was about to say, where does he get it from?
He
Yeah.
gets it from Skull Island.
And where's
Now,
Skull Island from?
Skull Island is the island that birthed King Kong. Now, bear in mind, this film was made in 1992. I think it's testament to the fact that Peter Jackson is probably one of the planet's biggest King Kong fans, hence the fact that he remade it several years later. But yeah, this rat monkey makes its way to New Zealand, to the zoo zoo. Is it? They're
You
at the
got
zoo.
the bait.
You got the bait. And
Yeah, they bring it back to that. Yeah.
yeah. So the hero of the story, Lionel. He's
Lionel. Yes, that's it.
Lionel, yeah.
Yeah.
He's at the. I think he's definitely the zoo, isn't it?
It is a zoo. Yeah.
He's at the zoo. Oh, God, it's been so long. He's at the zoo with his mother, and his mother is a piece
No,
of
he's
work.
with his girlfriend,
But
and
he's-
his mother's
Oh.
watching him.
Yes, right. He's at the zoo with his new girlfriend, his Hispanic girlfriend, who his mother does not like. So
That's
this
right.
is kind of the setup. She's a real piece of work. So she follows them to this romantic little meeting at the zoo. So one of the new creatures, I say creature on show, is this rat monkey. So she's hiding just behind the cage of this rat monkey, and the bloody thing bites her.
Yep.
So it bites her, and then she crushes its skull underneath her shoe. Horrible mess. The puppeteering it's
good for its time.
It's good for its time.
Good for its time.
It's mildly believable. In the context of this film, it really, really works, because as we get further into it, we suddenly realise that when this thing bites somebody, it's actually it's giving them this kind of rotting disease. So slowly but surely, Lionel realises that his mother is decomposing. So back to the house that they live in. It's this big house in New Zealand in 1952.
I love the setting for it. It's just such a random time to have it.
It is. And I think that really adds to the flavour of the film.
Yes,
so the film's
definitely.
set in the 1950s in New Zealand, and everybody's in period costume. We've got period cars, and I love that aspect of it. I think it's really, really good. So obviously you've got period beliefs and
Yes.
and a lot of the sort of the community. What's the word I'm looking for? Racism.
Yeah.
Community
Yeah,
racism.
it's
because
true.
her mother does not like Lionel's girlfriend because she is
Hispanic, isn't she?
She's Hispanic, yeah. So we've got the setting, we've got the cultural beliefs, and we've got the fact that now that Lionel, although his mother is a piece of work, he's looking after her as best as he can. So he's got her holed up in her bedroom as she starts to fall apart. Now she dies.
Yes.
She dies, they bury her, she comes back to life. And she keeps coming back to life.
So stupid.
You know, there's one scene where he's got her sedated in the coffin, isn't he? And he has to
Yeah.
keep sedating her through the funeral in order to be able to bury her effectively. But she comes back to life, and he brings her back to the house. She basically winds up in the cellar along with a few other visitors to the house. So you've got the local priest, the local father, the vicar. He gets bit. He ends up in there. You've got
The priest is amazing in that movie.
priest is brilliant.
I kick ass for the Lord. He's literally a kung fu fighting priest.
He
John would
is.
be so proud of him.
The nurse that was looking after Lionel's mother, she gets bit, she ends up in the cellar, and so on and so on. Uncle Les, is it
Uncle Les, yeah.
Yeah, he gets bit, he ends up
Nasty
in the cellar.
plaque you got there, mate. Got a cavity there too, there, mate.
Because he turns up because he's like, well, what's happened to my sister? What's going on? I'm the rightful owner of this. Blah. There's loads of subplots to it. But yeah, but Lionel's trying to protect the fact that his horrible mother is dead. She's been reanimated, and now she's turning into this sort of bloated, amorphous creature. Well, Les claims the house. He suddenly discovers what's going on, and in order to be able to blackmail the house out of Lionel, he forces him out. And on the night of claiming his dead sister's house, he brings a load of people over for a beer, shits
party,
and giggles for
yeah.
a party. Well, Lionel's mother gets out. And she just, all hell ensues, and everybody gets bit, everybody turns into a zombie. But it's not just your George A. Romero zombie. I mean,
This is the next
this
level.
is pretty
Like
disgusting.
it's like a virus, isn't it? That
it's
goes
like
up
a
so
virus.
quick.
Yeah, and it goes through like wildfire. But these people start decomposing at an extreme rate. Body parts start falling off, blood starts gushing, and it's a horrible mess. So yeah, whilst everybody's feasting on each other, Lionel and his girlfriend are basically trying to contain this whole situation.
In the building, yeah.
In the building, the dead vicar, the dead priest, has sex with with the nurse.
With the nurse.
With the
It has
nurse, who very, very rapidly births this zombie baby. This comical little zombie baby, and then this little baby goes on a rampage as well. In order to contain this, Lionel basically bursts in with a lawnmower, and there's
Party's over.
Party's over, and he just starts mowing them all down.
Good
Quite
God, it is
literally.
so good how it just
And
goes with it, and
It's visceral, it's visual. There's blood more than you've seen in any other film, and I couldn't believe it. It turned my stomach, but you just cannot stop watching this film.
No.
It's so well made, and it is very well acted as well. There's got that comedic element to it, which Jackson does very well. But yeah, for what is his second feature, I think it like you said, it's
absolutely
balls to the wall, blood, gore, splatter, comedy, and I absolutely adore it for that. I believe it still has not been released in New Zealand on DVD.
It is in DVD, but it's not on Blu-ray.
It's not on Blu-ray. Yeah,
You have to get it from Spain if you want it, a Blu-ray copy.
Did not like it. They did not like it at all. And wasn't it released here under another name? I think was it called Dead Alive?
In America, it's Dead Alive.
It's called Dead Alive in America. Yeah. Quite why I don't know. Brain dead seems to be a bit of a subjective thing, but yeah, for the premise of the film, and I won't go into what happens at the very very end, but it's it's insane, it's bloody, it's funny,
and it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
Considering the situation it is in or what it's about, it's a fun movie.
It is fun, and I put Lionel in the same category as Ash Williams.
Nice,
because
it's shame they never did anything else with Lionel.
I know.
It's just that's it. That one movie.
Because Peter Jackson kind of does this tied universe with some characters sort of reappearing. Yeah. There's hints and other things.
Well, the Rat Monkey's in King Kong.
The Rat Monkey is in King Kong. Yeah. Or a suggestion of the Rat Monkey. So, Secret Stash, because not a lot of people know about Brain Dead. Number 3.
Nice. What's number 3 for the monster movie then?
Well, for the Monster Mash, they're coming to get you, Barbara. Again.
The remake?
The remake.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I saw the remake of Night of the Living Dead, 1992. 1990s.
Tom Savini directed this, right?
Tom Savini directed it. Yeah, 1992. 1990. I'm getting mixed up with another film. 1990s Night of the Living Dead remake. I saw this before the original.
Okay.
And it's what led me into the world of George A. Romero.
Ah, okay.
That's why I've got it on their list. But it's not a substandard remake. It was hated at the time. Not a lot of people liked it. They made certain plot changes that changed the narrative ever so slightly. But I think Savini did it for a reason, and it was given George A. Romero's blessing. I'll go into it in a second. The story is the same. The monsters are the same. Nothing really changes. But what you've done, you've put it in a modern day setting, and I think they projected it slightly further into the future from when this film was made. I think it was meant to be 1997. That's when they kind of timed it.
Right, okay.
Yeah. But without this, you would not get the modern day remakes of Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and so on and so on. And Romero sort of rejuvenated his world, his template of the zombie film. He introduces us to Tony Todd, who actually got top billing on this film,
right.
Even though, as the characterization of Ben, which I think he plays very, very well. Tony Todd is an amazing actor. He appears in another horror franchise. And Patricia Tallman, who is Barbara, who this time is not the shrinking violet that she is in the original Night of the Living Dead. She's kind of been reborn in this Ripley, Sarah Connor.
Badass sort of thing.
But yeah, and I think... female protagonists get a bad rap and still do to this very day. You love Ripley. I think Sarah Connor is also an iconic character.
Absolutely. She's up there with her.
Why the hell shouldn't we have... And I don't want to say this, folks. I hate saying it. But
he's gonna.
Strong female leads. But why shouldn't we have these characters? So I absolutely fell in love with Patricia Tallman as Barbara in this film, and I thought she was brilliant. And yeah, it led me into the world of George A. Romero, but it strengthened the fact that I think from this point onwards, we had more female characters who were kicking ass. Now, you might not know the name Patricia Tallman, but she went on to star as Lita. I think the character's called Lita in Babylon 5.
Ah, okay, right.
So she stars in Babylon 5, and I think it was a testament to her portrayal of Barbara in this film that led her into that. But let's go through to the very end. Tom Savini's directing style, I think, is very, very well played out. He really fought for this film to be made, and against all odds. The studio didn't have a lot of faith in it. There was a lot of pushback on the film, and the change that he'd made to the very end of the film was one of the reasons why it nearly didn't make it out there, because Barbara survives. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Barbara survives, and she makes it out. And unfortunately, Ben does die because he gets heroically bitten by a zombie in this one, and he turns and she has to kill him.
So it's not a blatant rip-off of the original.
It's not a blatant rip-off of the original. There's a slight change to the end. And much like I've mentioned about the fact that Romero puts in these societal kind of undercurrents, these stories that run throughout them, this one was about classism and racism. So it was playing on that original 1968 segregation. So the character of Ben in that one wasn't really accepted by the rest of the white characters within it because of what was going on in America at the time. They still kind of played into this one, but right at the very end you've got Hicks rednecks who rescue Barbara from the house, take her in, and she rests for a little bit, and then she wakes up and she sees that these zombies are hanging from the trees and they're being poked and shot by the rednecks. But yeah, it's about classism, this one, and I think it's done very, very well, and it's very, very underrated. But again, without this we wouldn't get the modern day remakes of Dawn and Day.
Nice. And the fact that it got you into the Romero stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah. Because I had not seen any of the originals. It wasn't something that was on my radar, but this triggered it, and thankfully so, because
nice, mate.
Much like we've discussed over the last couple of weeks, I love George A. Romero's zombie films.
Definitely.
I'm surprised you came into him from that way. That's just as a weird. I thought
1990 is the year this film came out. I think I saw it the year later because I watched it on Sky when it was first broadcast on Sky.
I think that's how I watched it as well, yeah.
So when I was too young to really watch Dawn and Day. So by the time this rolled around, I think it was about 11, 12 years old, just old enough. I'd cut my teeth on Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, and I thought, let's give zombies a go. So yeah, and then that was it, and I just revisited everything else from there. So. Yeah.
Nice. Anything else on that?
No. I've talked about it at length over the last 3 weeks.
Well, okay, so my number 3 then is going to be joint with you with Brain Dead.
Ah, nice.
That's my number 3. I can't mimic what you said, really, to be honest. You've said it all. It is way gorier than Dusk Till Dawn, Hellbound 2, Hellraiser Hellbound 2. It's so over the top like I said, it's done in a fun way. I love, again, I'm going back to like how all the independent filmmaking is done and how he done it on such a small budget and whatnot. And again, it's within just one building. It's in the house and it's all there. Yeah. There's a specific scene I will talk about because you didn't mention it, so I will say it. But this was the movie that put me off custard.
Oh.
I used to love custard as a kid, but there is a specific scene in this movie that I cannot watch, and I have not had custard ever since I saw this movie. If you know, you know.
I agree. I said about the fact that it is stomach turning.
Yeah. There's loads of scenes of stomach turning. There's like the scene where the zombie that gets cut in half and his intestines come out and try and choke Lionel and all that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the intestines come
But
to
it's
life,
brilliant. And like I said, I was quoting it all the way through. So I watched this movie so many times.
The baby when he's kind of tearing through.
Yeah, the scene with the baby in the playground's fantastic as well, where he's like beating it up and people are watching him, and he's just literally kicking it and booting it and stuff. It's brilliant. But yeah, I just absolutely love this. And I'm not gonna lie, with Lord of the Rings and stuff, I think this is my favourite Peter Jackson movie of all time. I love his style of it. I'm not a fan of Bad Taste, though. I have to admit, Bad Taste. I don't know if you've seen it or not.
No, it's a different type of movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bad Taste goes to the extreme, and then when Brain Dead came out, I left it on there for a while because I was like, I didn't like Bad Taste, so it was like
fun.
No.
This delivers it in a different way.
It's got that charm of the independent filmmaking again, but this one I think is just his stamp of like, my favorite of all time. You mentioned the priest, you mentioned the baby. So I can't really mimic anything else, mate. It just balls to the walls gore. If you want an utter gore fest, please watch Brain Dead, or if you're in America, Buried Alive. But yeah, it's a fantastic thing, mate. Honestly,
yeah.
So yeah,
we say it a lot, and I definitely mean it on this one. You have to go and watch this film.
Yes, but don't watch his third movie, Meet the Feebles. That's a different story. Dave, number 3.
Number 3. My number 3 is another vampire again.
Nice.
And I know we talked about it in the vampire one, but I've put it on this one as well. Interview with a Vampire.
Nice. Okay. Honourable mention from me, that is.
Yeah. I have talked about it a lot because we did it in the vampire last year, I believe.
We did, yeah.
Vampire episodes. So if you want a real in-depth...
Which I'm surprised John hadn't seen.
Yeah. He loves a vampire movie.
Exactly.
As well.
And I'm very surprised he never saw that.
I wonder if he's seen it now.
Maybe. It's a year on. Who knows?
Well, if needs to get on it. If
Comment below, John. Let us know.
We'll ask John.
No, all right, moving on.
Anyway, yeah. So this, I'll quickly recap it again. This is, it's I can't remember what time period it's in, but it's in the time period of flouncy shirts.
It's like in New Orleans. Well, no,
Yeah.
the interview is present day,
Sorry,
isn't it?
it starts off the interview with Brad Pitt, isn't it?
Yes,
his
that's
character
it.
Louis.
And talking to Christian Slater, isn't it?
Yep, who he is basically giving an interview saying, "I am a vampire," even though she is like, "What? Really? You're a vampire?" And then
Still doesn't believe him, does he?
And goes back and basically just sort of talks about his sort of his life. Gives an interview about that, but then it goes back to his sort of how he becomes a vampire. We're in New Orleans in America, and he is, sort of flouncing around in his shirt, and he comes across a character called Lestat, doesn't he?
Yeah. Played by
I can't remember.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Yes, of course it is Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise again, where they've, I'm sure they've increased his height on that because
Must have done, yeah.
he
What are you suggesting, Dave?
I don't want Tom Cruise after me. He's average height, isn't he?
Not after the podcast, please, Tom.
Anyway, so
we can't go through that again.
not again, not again. But yeah, he eventually turns Louis to become a vampire because it's sort of sold as,
Wasn't it something he wants a companion and stuff?
Yeah,
Or something,
yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah.
There's a weird sort of pseudo love relationship potentially. You could read it as that.
He's just a lonely guy, man.
He is a lonely guy, but he chooses a very attractive man to be his companion. Doesn't he? So, not Tom Cruise. This is the character Lestat. And yeah, basically he thinks it's going to be a good thing to have eternal youth and all that, but then it turns out you have to feed on humans, which Louis doesn't want to do.
No.
That sort of is very repellent to him. So you've got this whole the vampire mythos, haven't you? Where to be strong, to be you're the best vampire, you need to feed on human blood, and Louis goes against that completely. So he flat out doesn't want to drink human blood, so he survives off of, I think, animal blood.
Yes,
and things
he
like that.
eats rats and stuff, doesn't he, and
rats
whatnot.
and that malarkey. And then we skip forward a little bit, and
Which is a nice little take, because when you have the vampire mythology, then they never really go into, they could just eat animals. So they always go for humans in the movies, don't they? So I thought it was a nice little, you can actually survive just on animal blood at the end of the day. So,
Well,
but he said it wasn't as good.
No, but the science behind it is that it's the plasma in blood.
Yes.
That's what vampires allegedly are meant to live on, isn't it? So yeah, it can come from anything. As long as you've got plasma intake, it doesn't have to be human blood.
but it's nicer if it's human blood.
Of course, yeah. It's like KFC for vampires.
That is a quote there, isn't it?
There is.
Plasma.
Put on a t-shirt,
Human
John.
Plasma. It's like KFC for vampires. Then skip forward. We get a little girl character introduced who is sick, isn't she? I think.
Yeah,
Yes,
Kirsten
she
Dunst,
is.
isn't it?
Kirsten
she's done,
Dunst is a young Kirsten Dunst, and they effectively turn her to sort of keep her living, and as part of their weird little pseudo family, and she stays as a child, doesn't she? She remains, even though
That's right.
We're going through the years, she still remains as a
So like 50 years
physically
later,
as
yeah.
a child,
Yeah.
but she's like a grown ass.
Mentally, she's grown.
Mentally, she's a grown ass woman, effectively,
That's
isn't she, with all the experiences, and is a vampire as well. And then
There's like a part where she sees a woman like naked, and she's
Yeah.
like, "I want to be her,"
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's like they have to try and explain to
Yeah,
her, like it'll never happen
Yeah.
and stuff.
well, yeah,
But she's such a scene stealer in that movie.
yeah, she is very good. Skipping forward again a little bit, they fall out with Lestat, and they decide they want to, off him effectively,
Yeah.
don't they? So they try to kill him, don't they?
Yes,
So they try slitting his throat and throwing him in a swamp.
they feed him dead blood,
They feed him, dead blood,
yes.
which
That's right,
makes
Which-
him go weird.
which reduces his power enough for them to slit his throat and try and off him,
Bleed him out, yeah.
leave him in a swamp, left for
right.
dead. And then they disappear off, don't they?
Yep.
And they go off. They travel around a bit more. They end up in, is it Europe somewhere?
I think it's Paris.
Yeah, and there's a is it Antonio Banderas?
That's right. Very young Antonio
Very young. There's a weird scene where they're at a theatre putting on shows as vampires, which I just like. That's bizarre and weird.
Because they're feeding, aren't they?
Yeah,
but they think
are.
it's the show.
But everyone thinks it's just a big like theatre production. They're like, oh, that's very scary. This show, isn't it?
Sexual, but it's
so weird. Anyway, I quite like that. That just sort of tickled me a little bit. And then and then it carries on. They burn, and doesn't Lestat come back as well? I think.
Louis finds Lestat at the end, and he like sort of pities him, doesn't he?
Yeah, because he'd been surviving, hadn't he?
Yeah.
I think he was. I think he was reduced to feeding on animals, wasn't he?
Yes, he does. Yeah.
But yeah, all of this is framed within the interview in the modern day, isn't it? Or
that's right.
Modern day of the 90s. Like I say, I like the reason I put this on because it's not. It's quite different from a lot of the horrors we've been talking about because it's not. Maybe not scary as such. You don't have a lot of gore and things in it like that.
But the story differs, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and it's
more suggestive.
It's a different take of the typical. Let's go find a loved one for Dracula or something, isn't it? It's
and it's a sort of a different look at the vampire, and I like the fact that it shows like the long time span because in a lot of vampire movies we're told, oh yeah, this vampire is 500 years old, or whatever. They're an old vampire.
We actually get to see him.
But you get to see it in this one, and you've got that whole sort of like trying to fight to retain an element of humanity, whilst which has then been explored in other vampire movies since. So I do quite like that. And I just it's a good movie. Again, if you want me to go into it in a bit more detail, go back and listen to the vampire one, which we talked about in the last Spooktacular last year, I think. But yeah, what I've realised is there's a lot of vampire movies in the 90s.
There certainly is.
There is a lot of vampire movies.
Absolutely is. And then we had to go and get it in the noughties with a certain franchise. But yeah, hopefully that's in no one's list next week.
Well, we won't say it then.
But like vampires were such a huge thing back then, wasn't it? It's just crazy how and I think that's why Interview the Vampire stood out because they were just the typical vampire film, weren't they? And like you said, this one sort of focuses on the day-to-day life of the curse of being a vampire and living forever and stuff. So
and you get to see it sort of spread out a little bit through time as well, which is quite
like the underworld of them as well. Like you said, with the theatre scene and stuff as well.
I do like that theatre. So that's just bizarre. I don't know why I liked it, but yeah, I quite like the idea of it being done in sort of open.
Yes, like in front of people, like it's an act.
Yeah, it's an act, and then people are like, "Oh, bravo,
bravo, bravo for eating that woman."
Yeah. How realistic!
How the special effects are. Really,
look at the way the blood comes out of her throat.
Yeah, so good. And I think quite a little bit similar in a way to maybe Blade. You've got that undercurrent in the Blade movies, haven't you? Where you've got vampires.
But it's a society of vampires, isn't it?
Yeah. There's like a wider society. Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to put it on my list again.
Nice.
In number 3.
Nice. Good pick, sir.
Interview with a Vampire.
That was number 3. Let's go.
John needs to watch it.
To the number 2s.
Number 2.
Howard, back to the secret stash, sir.
So number 4 on my secret stash, we are going into the mouth of madness.
Nice. An honourable mention from me.
Oh, good. 1994's Into the Mouth of Madness.
John Carpenter, right?
John Carpenter. So we all love John Carpenter, and I said there's not really a bad film. This is one of these really, really good ones, and it's a psychological horror because you don't know what the fuck is going on at any point, and it's played out from the point of view of Sam Neill as John Trent.
Yes.
Again, it's been a while. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so he plays a insurance investigator, and he's been tasked by his boss to look for a manuscript, and the writer of that manuscript. Now, the manuscript is called In the Mouth of Madness, and it is written by a novelist within this film called Sutter Kane.
Stephen King.
Now, Sutter Kane, very prolific a horror novelist, worth a lot of money. So therefore, the company that essentially owns him, the novel series of novels that are owned by the company, they've sent out Sam Neill to go and find him and look for this last novel. he slowly but surely realizes that the world is not as it seems.
No.
And he's beginning to doubt his own sanity as the film progresses. And he realizes that the works of Sutter Kane have a kind of hallucinogenic effect, a mind-altering effect on the people who read them. And he's gathered that they're slowly going insane. So anybody who reads this particular novel goes insane and starts experiencing this otherworldly dimension and creatures and visions and things like that. It's very similar to Videodrome that I talked about on the 80's podcast.
Not so much body horror, though.
It's not so much body horror, no, but it's the idea of people's brains being reprogrammed through works, through fictional works. So, yeah, Sutter Kane has this supernatural power. Lo and behold, we flash forward a little bit, and Sam Neill has found Sutter Kane. He's in this church. The female companion of the part has read the novel. She's now insane. She's bleeding from her eyes. There's no way back from her. But we suddenly see through the eyes of Sam Neill, of John Trent, and we realise that, yeah, the world is starting to change around him. He's doubting his own sanity. Sutter Kane, for want of a better terminology, is the devil of the part. He had the other aspect that I like about this film is that it talks about the old ones.
Yes.
The cosmic gods.
I was about to say, H.P. Lovecraft, isn't
H.P.
it?
Lovecraft has made his way into this movie. I mean, the very title is from The Mountains of Madness, which is a story by H.P. Lovecraft. But there's a series of sort of statements made within this film, and it talks about different types of novels that Lovecraft has written. And it's brilliant, and it's very well done. And towards the end, we realise that Sutter Kane has harnessed the power of the old ones. And in order to be able to get eternal life, eternal power, whatever it is he wants, he's wishing on the monkey paw. He basically tears into himself and he tears reality apart.
Yes.
And this true reality is unveiled, and the old ones are coming, and the demons are coming to swallow this earth. Sam Neill, as John Trent, is now in this insane asylum because the whole story has been told from his point of view. And very much like with Interview with the Vampire, it starts off with him being interviewed about why he's in this asylum. So he tells this story of how he's got into this investigation. He's slowly gone... Well, he doesn't believe he's mad. The whole world is mad, and he's the only sane one.
Said every
insane guy in the world.
In any horror film ever. All of a sudden, he realises that he can just get out of this asylum, and he walks into the street, and he can see that, again, the world has changed, and it's now an apocalypse. Have the old ones arrived? Have they destroyed our world? He goes to a cinema where he sees that it's several months down the line. This manuscript has been published. The world has gone insane. It's been turned into a film. It's reached the wider audiences. So he sits in this empty cinema and watches this film and realises slowly that the character on the screen is John Trent.
Yep.
He is, in fact, a character in the story of In the Mouth of Madness. It doesn't make sense at points, and I think you can walk away thinking, what the bloody hell was that all about? But it's very cleverly written. It's got those Lovecraftian themes running throughout. Sam Neill is awesome as always. You've got Jürgen Prochnow, who plays Sutter Kane, who is brilliant in other films we've talked about on this podcast. The acting is great. The writing is great. It's John Carpenter. It's very, very scary and atmospheric at times. And the ambiguous ending at the very end where Sam Neill is just maniacally laughing away to himself because he realises he was never real at all. He's a character in a story. Very, very, very well made.
And it's a John Carpenter film that no one talks about.
No, exactly. And hence the fact it's on this list. And you boys like The Prince of Darkness, don't you?
Yes.
Now... This allegedly is John Carpenter's third in his Apocalypse series.
I was about to say, this is a trilogy of sorts, isn't it?
We start off with The Thing. We make our way into Prince of Darkness. And then we end with In the Mouth of Madness, where, all shit is fucked and the world has been destroyed and the gods have come to claim what's rightfully theirs. But it's brilliant. I think it's a nice little twist on what we think we know. And it takes a lot of the writings and the ideas of Stephen King, Lovecraft, John Carpenter's own idea of horror, and it blends it perfectly into this film.
Yeah, it's like a Stephen King film that's not, but it has that feel of one, doesn't it?
It's not a Stephen King film,
No.
but it is a Stephen King film.
Exactly.
And it parodies Stephen King a little bit, but it homages him more than anything in the characterization of Sutter Kane. Basically suggested it's like John Carpenter's love note to Stephen King, saying this is what the effect of your works has on the world. We're just taking that idea and we're pushing it a little bit further.
And did you know, which I'm sure you do, that's Darth Vader is in the movie.
Is he?
So there's a paper
As in
boy
the character.
There's
or
a
the actor?
there's a paper boy.
Yes, he is
in the town,
because
and it is played by a very, very young Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, it's his very first appearance in a motion picture.
That's
yes.
it.
Yeah, you're right. I did remember that. Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah, it's the paper boy.
So that was your secret stash.
Secret stash, Monster Mash. You're gonna.
You did the mash. Come on,
You're gonna hate me for this.
come on. We don't discriminate.
1992's Army of Darkness.
Okay, fine.
We all like we all like the Evil Dead 2.
No, I do like Army of Darkness. I think it's the weaker one of the three.
No,
I do like Army of
And we
Darkness.
talked about it on the 80s podcast, the 80s Spectacular, about the fact that Sam Raimi is a very big fan of the Three Stooges and comedy like that, and he put it very heavily into this film. And Ash Williams, who, although he was a very heroic protagonist in the last one, now you nailed it on the head. He has become a bit
comedy,
of a douchebag.
He's still badass, but he goes more comedic now in this one, doesn't he? This is where the real Ash is born, isn't it?
And this is the real Ash, because we see this Ash. He pushes way into Ash versus Evil Dead.
Absolutely, yeah.
Continues that same characterization. I like this version of Ash because I think it embodies the fact that not all heroes are perfect. Some of them are douchebags. Some of them don't always do the right thing.
Some of them care about themselves.
Some of them care about themselves. He's very narcissistic, but we still love him, even if he is behaving like a bit of a bellend. It's a monster flick at the end of the day. The Medieval Dead. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Wasn't it?
That was the original title, The Medieval Dead. Yeah, I think it's an enjoyable third chapter in Sam Raimi's little world of Ash Williams. The makeup is spectacular.
Yeah.
We've got all of Sam Raimi's directorial sort of tropes in there, all of the close-ups, the insane looks on Bruce Campbell's face. Dave, you talked about the fact that he kind of pioneered that flying camera.
The flying camera in.
Yeah, where the Deadites are flying into the cabin. We'll get a lot of that in this film. I love the fact that he's the mage. He rallies all of the Knights of Camelot, if you can believe this.
You see this? This is my boomstick.
Where he's thrown into the pit and he defeats the Deadite witch.
Yep.
And he proves his worth, and he gets the girl and the female lead of Sheila. There's a lot to love about it, and I think
I like what he does with the actual army as well, the skeletons. Like, they all have their own little personality, and they're all quite jokey and whatnot. And
that works.
That works really well. That's the part I do like.
Some of the slapstick doesn't work so much, and it is a bit cheesy. But I think when you approach it from the big set pieces, the big battles, and he's rallied all of the peasants and the rest of the pathetic knights into this army against the Army of Darkness, and I think it's really, really well done. Ash splits in two, and obviously evil has embodied, because it wanted Ash all along. He wanted this body, and he got this body, and he splits into two, and he becomes this king of the dead, essentially. I think Bruce Campbell's characterisation of the evil Ash, where he slowly turns into this emaciated Deadite, I think that's brilliant.
You get so many times that guy gets clones and
Well, all of the mini Ashes, and it's brilliant. And I think I do rate it above Evil Dead 2. But it's only because, again, they turned our idea of what we thought we knew about this franchise on its head. It's now set in the medieval period. Well, Sam Raimi's idea of medieval England.
I don't hate it. I love all Evil Dead. Anything Evil Dead I love. I just... The comedy, I think, was just too much for me.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
And I like I said to you last week, I completely get that. This was my kind of first foray into Evil Dead. This is my introduction.
Yeah, because mine was this 1 and then 2. So I really rated Army of Darkness
Yes.
for ages, and then until I'd seen the other
That's
two.
the order
Yeah.
that I saw it in, because
Yeah.
then you go back and you think, oh my God, there's a number 1. And number 1 is so mind-alteringly
Yeah.
weird. And then you get number 2, and like Dave said, number 2 kind of takes number 1, turns it into this amazing remake, reboot, and then, it leads us into Army of Darkness. I love the ending of this film. So depending on which version you watch or which version you've seen, depends on the ending that you get.
I was going to ask you this.
I like the fact that he returns to his normal life.
That's the theatrical cut.
That's the theatrical cut. You get the happy ending, and that gives us Ash versus Evil Dead. Let's be honest.
Yes,
that's
yep.
what gives us that series. But if you watched the home video version, and depending on which territory it was released in, you get the fact that Ash doesn't actually return home. He makes his way into the cave. He speaks the magic words of
Klaatu, Barata.
takes the drops, projects too far ahead into the future. I wish we'd seen that sequel.
Yeah, because he oversleeps, doesn't he?
He oversleeps, and he's in this future where the dead have ravaged the earth, and I'd like to have seen that. I think that would have been an entertaining film.
Also, what happens in the end of Ash versus Evil Dead, isn't it?
It did, yeah. It
Again,
did.
he goes forward into the future, and then we don't get anything
He
else.
goes
of
Mad
it.
Max, doesn't he?
I was like, so many times.
I want to see that. I want to see it.
Based, I think I mentioned this previously within recent weeks, but based on rumours, we
Yeah,
may
we might
still
get the
get
animated.
that. Yeah, we
Yeah.
still might get the
Fingers
animated.
crossed.
But I really hope.
I'll
At
be
the
up
moment,
for
we
that.
don't have it.
No. Make it work.
Make it happen. Watch it on Netflix, get the views, make it happen.
Yeah.
So,
And the TV series is really good.
I think all day
Yeah, I
long.
love that
and we get douchebag Ash, but he's an older Ash. He's tired. He's getting a little bit grey around the gills.
He's still Ash, though, isn't
He's still Ash. But I think Bruce Campbell is one of the most talented character actors that we have, and he's so underrated. There's a film that he appears in the 2000s that I will talk about when we get to it. But he plays a historical character in this film. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what it is.
And it was when I watched that and I thought, I think he could probably play anything. He could act his way out of a paper bag. He does play Bruce Campbell, let's be honest. But the characterization, the fact that he can take an idea and he makes it believable. Yeah, that's why I rate these films. And he really goes all out there. Sam Raimi took the reins off Bruce Campbell and said, act your fucking heart out. And that's what he did in Army of Darkness.
Absolutely, mate. Good pick. Anything else on that at all?
No, I don't think so.
Nice. My number 2, just remember, my number 2 is going to be my favourite movie sequel of all time, and that's Scream 2 is my number 2.
Well, we knew it had to make it
Yeah,
onto
it
the
was
list
gonna be up
somewhere.
But it's not number 1, and I'll explain later why. Okay. But I absolutely love the Scream franchise, and if you know this podcast or have listened to us for the last 8 seasons, you know why. But for the purposes of people that have joined us on YouTube for the first time, Scream is the franchise that got me back into the horror slasher. We talked about Freddy, Jason, and it was done. It was cooked. It was overdone. It was boring towards the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, agreed.
But Scream was the one that put it back on the map and for a new audience for the 90s generation. The reason 2's on there is because 2 knows what it is. It is the perfect sequel because it is aware of what it is and it takes everything up to a notch. There is a scene where Randy, the film movie guy, explains what you're going to expect him to, and you get it. Like they say in the Spinal Tap, it goes to 11. And there's times of it where you think stuff's going to happen and it doesn't. It does something completely different and the other characters get killed off that you don't expect. And it is fantastic. It is a thrill ride from start to finish. It has my favourite opening scene of all time as well. For if we ever do the episode of top 5 opening movies of all time, Scream 2 has the best opening ever. And when we do that episode, I will explain why. But anyway, Scream is going back very quickly, the Scream is that franchise that got me probably back into movies. Obviously, watching them as a kid and whatnot, my life at the time was having a purpose of what do I do with myself? Where do I go with my life? What should I do with it? And this was what got me into filmmaking. I watched this, and the franchise itself is because the character is always Ghostface, isn't it? That's the killer. But the killer is not the same person all the time. It is a different person. And it is essentially a horror movie, a slasher movie, but also a murder mystery. And that's what I love about each and every single Scream movie. Not only is it, oh God, we've got a killer after us, but now we need to try and figure out who's doing this and why they're doing it and what's their motive behind it. And that's why I love about these movies. They still go today. Number 6 came out last year, and it is a fantastic sequel. It's like probably just up there with 2.
Oh,
Like,
really?
I really like 6. 6 is so good.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh God, mate, it's brilliant. But yeah, like I said, this is the movie that got me into wanting to be a filmmaker. So I went to uni and started to do media studies, writing my own scripts. And it was just that I wish I could relive that passion of watching it again for the first time. And just, when we saw this movie, it was just an absolute thrill ride and we all loved it. And Scream 2, there's just so much more to it without spoiling it. If you haven't seen it, then, go watch it because it's brilliant. But yeah, we can't have the 90s without Scream. Scream is what brought I Know What You Did Last Summer, the Urban Legends, the Faculties, all that back to the limelight and brought slashers back. So it had to go on the list, even if it was just the first one to represent the franchise. But no, I'm going to go with 2 because it's my favourite to represent it all. And it came out in 97, so it's going on there.
It's got one of your favourite female characters.
And of course, again, she's up there with Sarah Connor. She's up there with Ripley. She's up there, Sidney Prescott. I love you, Neve Campbell. Please get hold of me. She's, you should have been my wife. You're the second wife now. But yeah.
We have finally found out the reason he's done this.
Please, Neve Campbell, just put a comment on there saying
just to reach out.
Wow.
But yeah, Scream 7 apparently will be set next year. I look forward to it. And Neve Campbell will be back as well. So yeah, bring it on.
Happy days.
That's my number 2, Scream 2. Dave, what is your number 2?
Number 2. I've actually decided it's going to be the 1990s It.
Okay. So the 2-part TV series.
The 2-part smashed into one, yeah.
Nice.
Mainly because Howard did it earlier. So I could put it back on.
Honourable mention for me. So yeah.
Honourable mention for me.
This is another one I've definitely talked about on this podcast.
Again, we did a Spooktacular on it, didn't we?
Did a Spooktacular on it. So if you want the really in detailed shots and things, go watch that. I'm just going to talk about it sort of more broadly. I love the story of it.
Yes.
I love the idea that it's. And in this one, where it falls down a little bit is the janky alien at the end.
Yes.
Where
it falters, isn't it?
It does falter a little bit then, but I like the concept that there's an alien creature that has come down, landed or crashed on Earth, and of all the forms it decides to take to induce terror, whatever, it takes on a clown, and
not just any clown.
Not the clown.
Tim Curry's clown.
And it is Tim Curry. And he does this so well. Like, he is a fantastic Pennywise.
Yeah.
I do like the new one as well. The new film of it as well. The
Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, the remake. Very good as well. But this is where it all sort of started, really, isn't it? For the film, based on the Stephen King again book.
And this is the power of Tim Curry. He's one of my favourite actors of all time, top 5 actors of all time. I've literally watched a documentary on it, the Tim Curry one. It's on Amazon Prime if you want to watch it. But they had other designs for the clown costume that he was going to have. And they went through all this all this palaver with different designs and whatnot. And Tim Curry said, no, look, just make it basic. Give me the bald, the bulging head and the nose. Let me do the rest. And that's all it is. And the rest of it is just Tim Curry doing his evil faces and whatnot he does.
He does really act through that sort of makeup and that costume, doesn't he? Because you think if you would put somebody else into that role who couldn't do that, it would have lost a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a real ability to be able to act your way through such a visually iconic look, I would say. If you're scared of clowns, again, don't watch this fucking movie. But yeah, basically, he's some weird alien from beyond who is living in the sewers around Derry and just feeding on kids.
And their fear, isn't it, as well, and stuff?
Fear, yeah. And arms. rips off. Georgie's little arm at the beginning, doesn't it? And there's some lovely shots of them, and they have to go into the sewers, which is terrifying. Again, to hunt a clown of all things. When you say it like that, it sounds weird, doesn't it? Like
there's more to it because they're all a bunch of losers, aren't they?
Well,
they're
it's
all
the losers' club, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, and they all come together as one.
Yeah, to fight the bullies and throw rocks at them.
They've all got their inner demons and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, the second film is basically the same as that, isn't it? But yeah, they sort of band together and they are trying to go and defeat this entity, Pennywise, who's killed Georgie, who's the younger brother of one of the main characters in the Losers Club. But it's so iconic. I really wanted to put it on this list somewhere because Pennywise.
I'm glad you did. Yeah,
is one of my favourite sort of horror characters.
Is it really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Amongst a lot of other horror characters.
But you mentioned the remakes. I mean, just think how the Tim Curry one has lasted this long and people are still scared of clowns because of Tim Curry. He is just
so good as Pennywise.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I put it so highly on the list is because of him playing that character.
And how he delivers some of those lines in that movie, like, I am the destroyer of worlds and the eater of children, and how Tim just delivers that.
It's
is
his
fantastic.
eyes, isn't it?
Yes.
He's got this weird thing that he does with his eyes, and anyone who's seen it will know what I'm talking about now, but yeah. So yeah, I had to put it on there.
That's a good
if
pick.
you want more like blow by blow thing, go back and listen to
the commentary
corner. Well, it wasn't a commentary corner; it was a spooktacular we did.
You're right. Sorry, beg your pardon.
Go back and listen to the spooktacular. We talk about that
in deep depth,
way in depth.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sort of run on too long about it and go over it again because I've already talked about it on that one. But
hey, please give it a listen.
I just wanted to give this particular version its place on this list because to me it is really and it was again made in two parts originally, which could have suffered from, but again it's a TV one.
And the problem is it's going to get overshadowed now, isn't it? Because of the new ones.
It is a little bit, but then you've also got the good thing that people who will come into that story now, who might not have been around when the first one was up, might be more inclined to go back and watch it, knowing that it is based on something like that. So then it's another way for them to, if you look at it as a positive, it's a way for them to maybe experience. You know, that's exactly what Howard was saying with
Night of the Living Dead.
George Romero, Night of the Living Dead. So the same thing could happen there, and then you could experience it through.
If you love something enough, you'll want more of it. So you'll go back and look at where it came from.
Yeah.
And will you watch the new TV series that's coming out?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Of course I will.
Yeah.
We'll see if it's any good, but yeah.
I'm interested. I'm going to see what they're going to come up with on that one.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
It's called Derry, isn't it?
Welcome to Derry.
Welcome to Derry. Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. Anything else on?
Hope it lives up to the expectations.
Anything else on that then?
No. Number 2, It.
Nice. Let's go and bring it home to the number one.
It's number 1.
Bring it home, Howard, with the number 1 Secret Stash.
Stash is a little-known film from 1995, straight out of Spain. It's called The Day of the Beast.
I don't know this one.
No, I knew nobody would have heard this one. This, and I mentioned to you earlier, I think I first saw it on Channel 4.
Oh, this is the one. Okay, right.
This
Okay.
was, a Christmas Day night Channel 4 film. The content of the film will make it clear as to why I think that's when I saw it. I can't remember, but whenever
Edgy Channel 4.
Edgy Channel 4, yeah.
On Christmas Day.
Rebel 20. Channel 4.
Yeah, well, thank fuck, because it paved the way for Bravo.
True, yeah.
You know how much I love that channel.
We do.
Yeah. It's not porn.
Hashtag bring back Bravo.
Yeah.
I was going to say, when did Bravo close?
Years ago,
It's
wasn't
a good few
it?
years ago, wasn't it? Yeah. I mourn the loss of that channel. Purely because of the reason that it showed...
Purely because of the soft porn after 10.
Yeah, mate. I mean, it's not...
It's not porn.
It's not porn. After Channel 4 made their name for showing the edgier stuff, channels like Bravo just went the extra mile with it. And they were showing films like this. The Day of the Beast. Let's get back on track. It's not porn. We open with a priest explaining to his fellow priest. This is all subtitled, by the way, 'cause it's a Spanish film. And again, it's a world cinema. So very well done. I urge people to to go out and watch well cinema films, because otherwise you're missing out on a lot. I know you love your Korean stuff, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Or but Korean mostly.
Yeah. So this Spanish priest is talking to his colleague, this other priest, and he's basically explaining that he's going to go out on Christmas Eve into Christmas Day, and he's going to basically commit as many sins as he possibly can. So his colleague looks at him and he's like, what the hell are you talking about? So you see him whisper into this other priest's ear, and he goes, I will help you. I will help you do this.
Okay.
A giant cross falls from the Mary Magdalene or the Jesus that's sitting above them and crushes this priest who just said, I'm going to help you do this.
No way.
That's the opener of the film. So our hero, who is now garbed himself with various satanic kind of iconography. He's listening to heavy metal music. He's gone out into the streets of Madrid and he's tripping up old women, and he's spitting on tramps, and he's kicking dogs, and he's doing all of this sort of thing. You just think, I don't actually understand what's going on here. The premise of the film is that this priest has discovered that the Antichrist is going to be born soon. And the only way that he can stop it from happening is if a man of the cloth becomes unpure. He falls from the faith. And if he can...
Because that's never happened before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What?
Spain's got a different idea, mate.
Yeah, obviously.
Spain's obviously not watched the other ones.
Yeah. They've never seen John dressed as a priest. So he's in the streets of Madrid, and his belief is that if he commits as many sins as possible, then the Antichrist will not be born. The conditions are that the Antichrist can only be born if it's born into a world where the world wants to refuse it. It's so Catholic, it's so religious. They can't possibly believe the Antichrist will be born. So the theory of this priest is that if he commits sins as a priest, it disrupts the chemical equation, if you like.
Right.
He's going to stop it from happening.
Okay.
Well, on the way, he gets this heavy metal fan on board. This guy who runs a music shop. So he goes into this music shop and he says to him, "I need you to tell me what is the worst, most satanic kind of rock heavy metal
Of course.
band there is." So this guy, this guy's name is, I think his name is Angel. So Angel is the priest, and Marie Jesus. I think his name's Marie Jesus.
Oh, you couldn't get more loaded religious names,
Exactly.
could you?
Yeah. So he's the name of this heavy metal fan, and he says, "Oh, you need to listen to whatever, King Thunder Guts 2000. This is the worst band ever. This is the worst music ever." So he gives him this tape, and he goes out into the streets and he starts listening to this heavy metal music in order to be able to imbue himself to commit these sins. Well, this guy gets on board with him because he tells him, he says, "Exactly, why are you doing this? What's going on?" So he tells him, he's like, "I'm on board. I need to stop the Antichrist from manifesting in Madrid at Christmas for New Year's." And then they go to Jesus' mother's boarding house. He puts the priest up for a couple of nights, and they sort of start reading these cultist texts in order to be able to understand how to stop the prophecy from happening. So reading these cultist texts, they suddenly realise that one has been written by a TV reverse evangelical cultist. So this cultist is this big face in Madrid. He's got his own channel. He talks about all of these kind of theories and Satanism and demonology and all that. And it's a popular show that he runs. So they go and find this guy. And they say, "You can help us. You can tell us exactly how to stop this from happening. We've read your book. We know that you understand." And he's like, "Dude, I'm a fake. It's all a show."
Right.
But they get him on board. They get him believing. And he thinks, well, you know what? Some of my writing, some of it is based in truth. So again, all three of them, the priest, the heavy metal rocker, and the fake Satanist, cultist TV presenter, go out into Madrid and try to find the Antichrist, stop him from being born. I won't spoil the ending because I love this film to a degree where I was absolutely on board with it at the time, and I would still watch it to this day and enjoy it because the ending is pretty damn fine. They stopped the child from being born, but at what cost? I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you the ending. I want you to go and watch it.
It sounds like such a weird film.
It's
What the
insane.
actual fuck?
Yeah, it's insane, but it's so well done, and it's not done by any particular well-known director. Nobody's really well-known has starred
How
in
did you
it.
come across it? Oh no, you said Channel 4, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Yes.
exactly. Yeah. And it was one of those ones where I was like, I love this film. And because in 95, 96, we didn't have streaming, we didn't have downloading, we didn't have DVDs. All we had was VHS.
And that is the real horror of this fucking podcast.
It took me about 6 months to watch.
Yeah, that would be a horror movie for kids nowadays, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would be. Yeah. What? Not having anything.
Not having any
at your
internet.
fingertips?
You didn't have something in your hand that you could scroll endlessly, doom scrolling.
No! So yeah, I went out, found this VHS, and I watched it relentlessly. And I was getting everybody into it. And I said, "You must watch this film, The Day of the Beast, The Day of the Beast." But yeah, it's my secret stash, and I'm glad that you haven't heard of it because I want
so
you to go and
curious.
see it.
I want to watch it now, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it is brilliant. It's funny. It is quite spooky, quite horrifying in places. But it's the premise that got me originally. I thought, yeah, brilliant, good, something
Wow.
different.
Nice, mate.
Coming back off of the old 80s, the heavy metal and D&D
Yes.
is of the devil and it's going to
Yeah.
corrupt everyone.
So recently with Stranger Things, they've kind of reawakened the fact that back in the 80s, people truly believed that heavy metal was warping kids' brains. And so
That's
was
right,
D&D.
yeah.
Yeah, because all of this.
Spain was
It's
just
the devil's music.
Spain
devil's
was just a
music.
bit further behind.
They were.
Yeah.
They were.
At the
Yeah,
time.
clearly a bit more pure out there.
I'm surprised it was allowed to be made in Spain. If it's that anti sort of about the devil and stuff.
Well, one of the. Did you know?
Oh, hang on.
Because Spain is a very religious country, more so than the UK and other parts of Europe, when religious factions of Madrid realised that this film was being made and what the content was about, and they actually went out and they were campaigning against the film not being made, and some of the actors were actually attacked and got beaten up. So yeah. So based on that,
this is what I'm saying.
yeah,
I'm surprised
it nearly didn't get made. They kind of had to go under the radar to make it. And I think, much like Brain Dead, it's not allowed to be shown in Spain. I think.
Oh, well, that would make
But
sense.
I will double check that fact, kids.
And in the place it was made.
And in the place it was made. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. In the Day of the Beast. Thoroughly enjoyable. Brilliant stuff.
So the number one monster movie of the 90s.
Monster Mash.
Monster Mash, big
My
one.
number one Monster Mash of the 1990s is 1990s Tremors.
Is it really?
Yes.
Big G will absolutely love you right now.
Tremors is
He'll be going, oh, no,
awesome. Kevin Bacon, I think in probably his second major role after Footloose. He'd done a few films, but up to this point, he wasn't the major actor that he is today.
That's right, yeah.
So, we've got Kevin Bacon and, what's
Fred
the name?
Ward.
Fred Ward, yeah. So, basically, they're stuck in Hicksville. They're in this little town, and they do odd jobs. They're a couple of odd job men. Like
handymen, aren't they?
They're
Yeah.
handymen of the town. They want to get out. It's a bit of a shithole, and there's no money to be made. So they basically, on the day of the events of this film, they decide they're going to get out. The road is blocked. They can't get out. Other things that have been happening around at the time, people have been sucked under earth. People have been sort of chomped by their homesteads and out of trucks and things like this. What the hell is going on?
Or the guy that's up in the
guy that
the radio
dies.
tower from dehydration.
Well, it's a telegraph pole, isn't
That's
it?
it.
Yeah, so he literally dies of dehydration because he's so shit scared of being on the ground that he's spent a couple of days up on the telegraph pole, dies of dehydration. So, yeah, little mysteries like this. Well, our heroes of the piece suddenly realise that things are coming up from underneath the earth and swallowing people whole. What do we call them?
Graboids.
Graboids! So
That
these-
is such a 90s name. Isn't
yeah,
it?
but it's brilliant, and it embodies the kind of film that it is. It's a B movie. It's a
Yes.
B movie for the modern age at the time. So Graboid was a perfect sort of name for these creatures who we suspect have actually come from outer space. They're not from the Earth at all. Yeah, they've come from outer space. So anyway, so these slug-like worm creatures are channeling their way up through the Earth, and they're chomping on the local community. I mean,
they feel the vibrations of the ground, don't they? And then they eat people or whatever, isn't it?
They feel the vibrations, yeah. And there's some quite comical scenes as to how some of the residents of this little town are dispatched because of this. We've got the guy from Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, Victor Wong.
Victor Wong, who owns the local store. We've got Bert. What's his name? The character's name is Bert. Michael Gross from Family Ties.
Yeah,
he's the local gun nut. He's got a bunker out in the sticks, and there with what's her name?
She's a country western singer.
It's not Tammy Wynette. What's her name? You'll come back to me. Reba McEntire. So we've got Reba McEntire as his wife. Yeah, so they hole up, and they've got a fuck ton of guns, which they reveal to the rest of the characters as soon as they make their way to this bunker, because they realise that these things can go under the ground, but they can't make their way through concrete. Or can they? There's various scenes that I think you've got to see it to believe it, because it is such an enjoyable monster mash. I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it. I mean, you've seen this film.
I've seen it plenty of times. I do like this movie, but G loves this.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was one of G's favourite films.
He absolutely loves this.
Really?
Yeah, I think he mentioned it like the scariest movies of all time or something for him. Or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he absolutely adores this movie.
I mean, it is pretty damn scary. And as a kid, I think I was 11 years old when I saw this. Yeah, it is freaky as fuck. The creatures are so well done. The practical effects. So Dave, you were talking about a lot of the effects not being CG. You get a little bit of CG. I think there's some stop motion.
Very, very slightly.
It's minimal. But yeah, the practical effects that were done on this movie to do with the graboids, I think was immense. The way that they burst up through the ground, the way that they eat
the
people.
little tongue things that pop out of them.
Yeah,
and stuff.
so you've got this is a plot point. So at the beginning of the film, they think it's giant fuck off snakes that are reaching up out of the ground and pulling people underneath and eating people. Well, these snakes are actually a protuberance. It's multiple parts of this thing's tongue. So this tongue comes out, and you realise it's kind of an alien type offshoot of the inside of its mouth, and these tongues come out, grab people, pull them into the main part of the slug.
Do you think that's where they got that idea from?
It's possible. I think if they didn't use that as influence,
it's inspired.
It's very, very inspired. Yeah, and the slug itself, the space worm, it's Jaws.
Yeah, Jaws in the sand, isn't it?
It's Jaws in the sand. Yeah,
or a Shai-Hulud from June.
Yeah, true.
Exactly what I was about to say. And again, with June, we get an influence there. So these things popping up out of the sand in order to be able to devour people, and these ultimate terrors. But yeah, for a B movie, for a modern day B movie, I think it's brilliant. Very well acted, very well made. And there's other things I could talk about, but like Day of the Beast, I want people to go and enjoy it because it's such a brilliant film. You will enjoy it, you'll be scared by it, and I can guarantee you will go away and rewatch this time and time.
Absolutely. And again, I think I watched this when it was on like BBC or something. It was late night one night on a Saturday. I think that's how I got to watch it. It was a
Saturday evening job, wasn't it? Yeah, heavily edited.
Oh, absolutely,
A lot of the swearing and a lot of the
so I remember when the
DVD
or the Blu-ray came out, and I'm like, I don't remember this scene. So this clearly was cut for TV still, even though it was after 10 o'clock and stuff. But
like the BBC, I remember many, many years ago, it's a very, very quick interlude into the past, when RoboCop was first shown on ITV. There's the scene where the guy bursts into the convenience store and he's got his repeating shotgun and he's going, fun me. I mean,
why me?
I'm like, even as a kid, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, Christ almighty, because it was 2 minutes before the watershed. Well, they did the same with Tremors, and instead of saying motherfuckers, they say mother humpers.
That's right, yeah. Yes, that's right.
Mother humpers. And I'm like, no, I know what you're saying. But it didn't ruin it. And yeah, you go back and you watch the VHS or the DVD and realise that it's been heavily edited to fuck. But didn't stop my enjoyment of this film. It's just a great monster flick. And I would put it at the top of any list, let alone this one.
I made eggs yesterday. They were over easy. The hell you did! Bologna and beans. It's your turn. Such a great movie.
What's his character's name? Oh, I'm struggling. I'm letting you guys down. I think his name's Valentine, isn't it?
Yes.
It's Valentine.
Tammy Lynn Baxter.
Brilliant.
But
But I think that's one of Kevin Bacon's finest performances.
Yeah,
as Valentine.
and I'm kind of glad that the TV series never took off. Do you remember that they did a pilot?
Yeah, the TV series. I mean, it was all right, but it was not.
The pilot's not bad. I'll be honest.
The pilot's good, but the whole TV series is a premiere. It just wasn't. It wasn't a touch on this film.
Yeah, and the sequels were all straight to DVD and video and stuff as well, which is a shame. I like 2 though. 2's good.
2 is good, yeah, because Michael Gross and his character of Bert, and I don't think Reba McEntire's in that. I think that they've split up in the context of the film. But yeah, he gets more time because such a great character, this soldier of fortune, and he kept telling everybody the day's going to come when you're going to need a shitload of guns and you're going to need a guy like me.
This is it,
and he proved it.
5 times after the first one.
I mean, I'll talk a little bit more. He was so ingenious, especially towards the end when they go to Bert's bunker, to his hideout, and they realise that these fuckers can tunnel through concrete. Spoilers, yeah, I know. So they get the hell out of there. They get out of Dodge, and they need to go into the Rockies because they think, well, okay, concrete possibly, stone, rock, no. So they go up into the Rockies, and they start pole vaulting over these stones in order to be able to beat the graboids and stop getting it before they can get into the mountains and protect themselves. It is very, very imaginative, and it takes the B movie and it really, really projects it into the stratosphere for me.
Kind of sets up. Oh, go on. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying this is my B movie.
It kind of like sets the path if you want to go a little bit of stretch of the imagination for films like The Quiet Place and stuff like that, where you've got these monsters that you've got to try and find clever ways to go around and avoid, isn't it? And sort of, it's, avoid getting caught by.
And you can't see it.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
You can't see it. Much like Jaws, much like Alien, you can't see this creature for the first portion of the film.
That's right,
and then the big reveal.
Because you think it's, like you said, there's those snake things.
It's the snakes, it's big snakes that are putting people underneath or strangling them or whatever they think they're doing. But it's very clever. Very clever. Anyway, I'll stop talking. Trevor's 1990.
Nice. Right, so my number 1 then is probably... No, it was the first ever 18 rated movie I saw in the cinema when I was only 15. My number 1 is 1997's Event Horizon.
Oh my God. This is on my honourable mentions list.
Yeah. Again, boring with the horror and sci-fi part, and blend it together and make a cracking horror movie. Just a quick little history with this. So I remember seeing Men in Black the same year, 1997. And back in the days when putting a trailer on that was a certain age certificate didn't mean anything on a PG movie. And I saw a trailer for Event Horizon before Men in Black came out. Right. Now the trailer's very misleading. It's all about the crew that find a ship, and it's empty, and they find the crew and whatnot. But they apparently in the trailer it makes out that something has come back from this mission ship, a life force of some sort, like a monster, an alien or some sort. So I was like, okay, this is the new 90s Alien. Let's go see this. I spent a weekend with my cousin who lived in Wimbledon, and we went to go see it at the Odeon. I was begging him to take me because he was obviously older. He can get me to an 18-rated movie, and that's how I got to see Event Horizon. And good fucking God, it's still... this is why Scream 2 wasn't number 1, because this movie terrifies me.
Right.
You're going on this like you don't, like it's crap.
No, it's not crap. I don't like this film because of those scenes.
Yeah. Right.
I talked last week about body horror.
Yep.
I think this is the pinnacle.
Yes.
This is the pinnacle.
Yep.
And you don't see a lot, but you
get an idea though, don't you?
You get an idea of this I might spoil too much, of this hell universe and what happens there, and the scenes that you do get to see are so affecting. It's bloody gory.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
but you don't see half of what was filmed because they actually filmed.
They filmed hours
of this shit. I mean, it was pretty nasty.
Is there not a director's cut that has that in then?
No, so I mentioned that in the director's cut episode that this is one I wanted. They still have some that they sort of saved from the footage that was damaged, but you will never see what's left. Anyway, I'll go into it very quickly. So Event Horizon is about a ship called the Event Horizon that was built to go and reach out the farthest, galaxy, and it has built technology. It creates a black hole to go to the furthest stars of our galaxy. Hence why exactly, and hence it goes missing for 57 years. We don't know where it's gone. Is it 57? No, it's not 57 years. I'm lying.
That's Alien.
That's Alien, isn't it? So, I can't remember, but it goes for like 50 odd years or so. It goes missing. Anyway, the Lewis and Clark, which is the next ship that gets Sam Neill was on it. He's the guy who created the Event Horizon, and they find out that it's come back. So they go with the crew of the Lewis and Clark, starring a star-studded cast from Jolly Richardson to what's Doctor Who's son's name?
Sean
Pertwee and Lawrence Fishburne. That's the one I was thinking of. Who's the captain of the ship. And again, we get all these characters that you get a feel for. You like them, and you like the crew themselves. And they find the Event Horizon, of course. Now, the Event Horizon has come back and it has brought a life force with itself, but it's not what we think. It's not a creature. It's not a monster. The ship is alive. That's the twist of the movie now. But the ship feeds on each crew's fears and reads their memories of what they are absolutely terrified of and brings it to life, if you will. And I just find that absolutely chilling. It's kind of like I mentioned it on the Galaxy of Terror.
Yes.
So that's kind of like that as well, because they go and they find a place and it feeds on their fear and stuff. But this one is done with the excess of the gore as well. But I love the writing because it is the gore horror, but it's still got the high element of the sci-fi to it, and how they explain the black hole itself, and how the design of, and I never even thought of this, but the design of the Event Horizon itself is like a church, and it's actually a cross when you look at it from the top, isn't it?
Yeah,
so it's got the long deck, and then at the end it's got the two little wings at the back, and I never even thought of it as that at one point. But this is going back to what I said, I can't remember what movie it was, but you go back and you spot other different things the more you watch it and stuff. The imagery is horrific, but then the thought of it as well at the same time is like some of the lines they deliver. Jason Isaac, I think, is in this as well.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. And some of the lines that he comes up with, like, this ship, it knows my fears, it knows my secrets, it gets in your head and it shows you. I mean, how fucking terrifying is something like that? I mean, we get a man who ends up taking his eyes out because he can't, he rips his own eyes out because he can't bear to see, all the horror that's happening to him and stuff. There are a brilliant use of like Mario was on a few episodes before last season about the trombone shots and stuff like that. There's so many brilliant ones in this, and it gives you that element of when the lights all shut up, the darkness comes in, and you think something's going to happen, but no, it does this twist and does something else completely. It is fantastic. But like Howard said, we get to see what happens to the crew, and we get very quick images of like body horror or very Hellraiser type-esque sort of horror to it. But again, apparently they filmed a fair amount of it and had to be cut because I believe the original cut was 2.5 hours and the movie itself is only an hour and a half. So there's an hour's worth of footage there that has still not been seen the rest of daylight.
How the hell did they film an hour's worth?
It's crazy, absolutely. It's obviously not going to be all body horror, of an hour's worth of body horror, but I would just love to see, because you get, like I said, you get invested in these characters, really, don't you?
You do, yeah.
And they've all got their own little, like, one's a medical expert, one's a pilot, one's the mechanic, and obviously the Lewis and Clark, which is the ship that comes to the Event Horizon, is the one that is broken down, so they need to fix it, and need to get the hell out of here, and all this sort of stuff. And you just feel for it. And when one goes one by one, it's the typical horror element, one goes one by one, but how it's done is incredible. And I don't want to spoil it for you. I mean, I've already spoiled a few elements of it, but the deaths, if you're interested in seeing the deaths, then please give it a watch. But
the premise of this film is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And it's so well done, but yeah, it's just certain elements of it. I don't think I can watch it again.
I think it's Thomas W.S. Anderson's best film, and I would love him to go back and do this. I mean, he sort of has little elements of it in AVP when he did that. You got the sci-fi and how he does his shots and stuff, but this is a fantastic film, and he does sci-fi horror fantastically. Like, it is a love letter to The Shining and Aliens in one movie, in a way, if you think about it.
I'll give you that, yeah.
But yeah, I'll go back and watch it, or if you're a fan of it, go look at the DVD stuff. There are so many deleted scenes that have Sam Neill looking like Hellraiser at one point. It's fantastic, honestly. It's brilliant. But it today still sends chills to my, down my spine every time I watch it. I can never watch it in the dark either. It always gets to me. So it had to be number one because it obviously scared me more than Scream 2 did. So yeah, Event Horizon's my number one. Dave?
Number one.
You're going to get annoyed. Not annoyed, but you get... I have put my number one as Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to mention it earlier, dude.
That's all right. Again, we've discussed how horror this is.
Yes, we did, yeah.
Because it's also a detective, effectively, isn't it? But I'm going to reiterate it again. It's a good, scary, sort of real-life horror, I suppose, in that it is about two sort of serial killers. So the horror element, I would argue, comes from the fact that this is something that could kind of happen. It doesn't need...
it's a very real threat.
Yeah, it doesn't need like a sort of a spiritual aspect. It doesn't need like ghostly or anything. It's not a monster. It is a horror of this is...
These people exist like this.
This is effectively a real life predator that could prey upon anyone and, you know, carve them up and make a flesh suit out of them.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. The characterizations aside, a lot of these themes have been born from real American serial killers.
And we've talked about it before on this podcast. It's there's mashups again of real, like you said. I think Ed Gein who's inspired so many horror characters.
Well, Leatherface more than anything,
he's there's been lots of things that
Dharma, you know, you could go back so far.
I mean, the horror from this comes from that element of these are the monsters that walk in our world with us now. And the film itself is a masterclass of film, if you ask me. The performances from most of the characters throughout this are top form. You know, Anthony as Hannibal Lecter.
I think it's his finest performance.
You cannot
really.
Yeah,
he hits it out of the park on this one.
He does.
That character. There are so many bits in this film, and he's not the main character. He's not the main villain in this.
He's a sideline.
No. Which a lot of people, you'll say Silence of the Lambs, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, that's the Hannibal Lecter film."
Yeah. That's not who
the
they're
Clarice
looking
Starling
for.
film.
He's not the one they're looking for.
Who are they looking for?
They're looking for Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo Bill.
This guy.
What we are.
And again, he's based loosely off of other characters as well. Not characters, real people. I'm pretty sure the method that he uses to get women is very similar to Ted Bundy. He used to pretend that he had like an injury, like wear a sling and things, and ask a woman to help get something into the car, and then chuck her in afterwards and abduct that way. It's loosely it's about an FBI agent, Clarice Starling, who is
Jodie Foster,
played by Jodie Foster, and she is sort of brought in to try and get information out of Hannibal Lecter to help catch this serial killer called Buffalo Bill, who's been, you know, women have been washed up on sort of riverbanks with big portions of skin carved off them and things, and they find there's little moth chrysalises
of the death's
head moth
in the mouth, isn't it?
It's got, and there's loads of love. I'm always and again, this is just me and my personal taste. I love the scenes where you get like sort of like that where you get really heavy tension, in that both sides know that there's like this threat or this power, but it's not overtly shown. So the scenes where Clarice is interacting with Hannibal Lecter, if you looked at it on a face value, he's really polite. He's a gentleman, effectively, isn't he? He in places he comes across as well.
Makes you like him a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. He's very manipulative, and that's the threat. The threat is she knows that he is a top-tier manipulator and psychopath as well. Yeah. He is so dangerous that, you know, he's a killer. He's kept in this special, you know, he's the only one in that very visually sort of dingy basement, isn't he, with the Perspex screen. so that nothing apart from maybe some fingertips can get out. You know, even Miggs next door is allowed to jizz and throw. You know?
Yeah.
Well, that's it. I was literally about to say. So the fact that Miggs does what he does to Clarice, and then Hannibal's like, no, that's not what we do.
I know. Yeah,
that there are rules to what we do, and you've just overstepped.
And yet he's the one who's behind the perspex screen. None of the others are.
Yeah.
You know that this is like a top tier threat in human form. And it's that sort of like, but it's never said. He's not coming out saying, "I'm going to kill you" or anything like that. But
doesn't have to.
But there is that, and it's done so well, acted so well, and that character is so iconic and we get the payoff later on, obviously, in the film, because at one point he manages to break out.
Yeah.
That's not really.
What
a way to break out!
What a way to break out!
And it's gory, and it's so satisfying because you're seeing that. Because a lot of killers, I think, are, and a lot of the slasher killers and things like that, they're very good at what they do, but they're never portrayed as highly intellectual.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head, and I can't really think. So you see this very intelligent man who is also completely psychopathic, and he manages to escape by peeling someone's face off and wearing it. And then and alongside all of this, you've got this Buffalo Bill sort of thread where you see into the mind, or you sort of come to find out who he is and why he is doing what he's doing. Effectively, he's trying to make himself into a woman. So he's cutting up and, making a flesh suit out of female body parts. That's why he chooses the bigger girls, so that they'll fit his, frame. And the story is, and it obviously at the end, Hannibal's loose. Like, what an ending. Spoilers, but he's on the run effectively after that point. I think there's a shot of him in Europe somewhere, isn't there?
It's Peru,
or Peru,
something like that, isn't it?
He's
somewhere like that.
Somewhere with a nice sun hat on, and he rings
wandering off into the distance,
in amongst a crowd of people, and that's such a good shot because he's effectively a shark in amongst the shoulder, or a wolf in amongst a field of sheep that don't know, what he is. Yeah. And he's going to go off and that
shot stays as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't come off or fade or anything. The credits roll and he's still like within the crowd.
I've definitely spoken before about it on this podcast, but Hannibal Lecter,
number one. I'm very surprised by that.
This film for me is a defining film. You could argue maybe not so much as a horror. Maybe there are other elements that water down the horror thing of it, like the detective side of things.
Yeah, but anything that scares you, I think, is horrifying, isn't it?
Yeah,
and this film does scare you.
And again, whereas I think in a way maybe I'm a bit more desensitized to gore, having watched a lot of the slasher films, and you sort of see it and
it does become obvious, doesn't
I've been through my own gore, and that, you know, I've seen enough gory things in, as me, but whereas it's that hidden threat of that person, like Hannibal Lecter is manipulative enough that his job was a psychiatrist before, or a psychologist, one of the two, can't remember which, but before. So he's done well in that he can hide well enough like that. Yeah. That threat of someone that you could go to trust, like a doctor or someone, and then them. It
was a psychologist, wasn't it?
Yeah,
because the other guy who puts him in prison. Yeah, it was his.
I don't know whether it's a psychologist or a psychiatrist. There's a slight difference between the two. I don't know. I think
a psychologist.
But yeah, it's like that's where the threat is for me. That's where that sort of horror comes through. And yes, it's done in a sort of like a detective style format.
Yeah.
But I will always argue that Hannibal Lecter is one of the really good horror creations. Character,
because he's not overtly horrifying. He's hiding in plain sight, and
it's a different type of threat. Yeah. And it is that threat of he could be among you. He could be the doctor you go to ask for help.
You'd be none the wiser.
No, you wouldn't. And you don't know what his next move's going to be.
And also, he could manipulate you into the situation where you do not see it coming because he is that highly intelligent sort of, killer.
Yeah.
So that's where the horror comes from for me. And ever since I watched it that first time, it's been one of my all-time favourite films just because I really enjoyed that story.
Nice.
And it's also got a fantastic line. If you just to quote it, and would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. I'd fuck me hard. And then play.
Goodbye.
There we go.
If I knew that was your number one, I would have had it ready, mate. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, man. I wanted to surprise you.
Yeah, nice. Good pick,
But
though.
yeah, I had to put it on there. I fucking love that film.
Nice.
And again, we've talked about it before, but you mentioned a little bit, and you mentioned yesterday, or not yesterday, the last episode, sorry, about iconic movie posters. That poster for Silence of the Lamb with the sort of white half face and the pure black background with the little death's head moth on it. Just love it.
And it's got the dead bodies on the moth, hasn't it?
Yeah. You pointed that out last time we talked about it.
Was it me or was it you? I can remember, yeah. Nice. Very good picks.
Number one, Silence of the Lambs.
And that's it, folks. A couple of clashes, but not as many as I thought it was going to be.
Is it really?
Well,
is it?
In love and memory of John, we said we would do his number 5. So let's do John's number 5.
Get John ready.
Get John ready.
Channel him.
We've got him here ready. Now,
this is where we need
take this number 5 with a grain of salt, because I don't think it classes as a horror.
Okay.
But for the love of John, let's do this. John's number 5 is Blade.
Blade?
Yeah. I mean, it's a vampire movie. You had 2 vampires in there. But is it a horror movie?
I nearly put this on my honourable mentions. I think there's horror elements. Because we know Blade as a superhero character.
It's Marvel, right?
It's a little bit of science fiction. It's vampiric at its heart. I probably would say it's horror.
Okay.
Yeah, because of vampires.
Because of vampires. It's a glossy.
Yeah, so you had 2, so you got to let him have it.
Yeah, it's a glossy.
It is a good film,
version,
though.
but it is a very good film.
It is a good film. And it's because... I like it. Yeah, and we know you like it, John.
It's because it's...
because it's actually...
bloody gory.
I think most of these are bloody great. John's number 4 was From Dusk Till Dawn.
Was it?
It was, yes.
Oh, he's going hard on the vampires.
So we've got one clash on there already. Again, that one is...
bloody gory.
No, he likes it, doesn't he?
It's like he's here. It's like he's still here.
It's like he's still here, like he never left.
Feeling
Number
presence in the
3
room.
is a Tim Burton film, Sleepy Hollow from 1999.
I did not know. I forgot that was in there.
Well, we didn't actually get it till 2000, but the actual release date for it in America was 99. So
it slept in there.
We'll creep it in there,
Give it
yeah.
another
But yeah, would you class that as horror?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's gothic horror.
Gothic horror, I like that. Number 2 would have been a clash with me is Event Horizon. And number 1 is, I think we knew what this was going to be. Have you got an idea?
John's number 1 90s horror film be?
Is it Dracula?
It's not the
Dracula.
Oh, is it
Bram Stoker's Dracula. Bram Stoker's Dracula. From 1990, I thought this was like 94, 95. It's actually 92. I couldn't believe that. Yeah. So that's John's number 1.
List.
He does love Gary Oldman. He does love that movie.
Oh, Gary
And he
Oldman's-
does love a vampire film.
And he
as
does
well,
love the
doesn't
vampire film. But he still hasn't seen Interview with the Vampire. So yeah, good picks there, John. Couple of clashes. But yeah, good thing he wasn't on the episode, wasn't it? Right, let's do our honourable mentions. Do you want to start?
I'll whiz through this. This is in no particular order.
Okay.
I've got Lake Placid,
Nice.
Misery,
Nice.
The Candyman,
Yes.
Candyman,
Very surprised I didn't get mentioned at all, that.
Silence of the Lambs.
Yep.
I've got Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yep.
I've got Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
What, the TV series?
No,
The
film.
movie.
Did they do a movie?
They
Yeah,
did,
Chris
that's
Swanson.
where it originated from.
What,
yeah.
with
That's
Sarah-
a horror.
Is that with
vampire,
Sarah,
I guess.
Is
Yeah,
that with
that's
Sarah
fine.
Michelle Gellar in it?
No.
No.
Christy
No.
Swanson
And Luke Perry.
and Luke Perry, yeah, and
David Arquette.
and Donald Sutherland.
Sutherland.
The Crow,
Yeah.
the original Crow. Scream.
Horror?
Gothic-y horror.
All right, I'll let you have it. I'll let you have it.
Scream.
Yep.
Event Horizon.
Yep.
Cube.
Yeah, I got that on my list.
Yeah. Halloween H2O.
Yep, it's on my list.
Because much like New Nightmare, it was trying to reinvigorate and reimagine the whole Halloween.
I like
concept.
H2O.
And I like
H2O.
as well. The Ring.
Yep.
It.
The
Yep.
ring. The ring is in
The Japanese one.
The Japanese one. Ringu.
Korean, isn't it? Korean Ring. The Korean Ring. That sounds like
The Korean ring is Ring You.
Oh,
Ring You.
okay, right. Japanese then. Right, okay. Blair Witch Project.
Yep.
The Mummy.
The Mummy.
Yeah. I wouldn't class it. Well,
Yeah, but
it's
think
a monster.
about it.
It's a monster movie.
It's a monster movie, and if we're talking about universal horror,
Yeah,
that's where
I'll have it.
is.
I'll have it.
Yeah.
I'll have it.
Sleepy Hollow,
Yep.
Alien 3,
Yep.
And Arachnophobia.
Nice.
Now, I have been criticised for not putting Arachnophobia at the top of my Monster Mash list because in real life, the one thing I fear the most is big fuck off hairy spiders. And I saw this film once when it came out, and I vowed never to watch it ever again. Much
Really?
much the same as Event Horizon.
Okay.
Scared me that much. I hate spiders anyway. And I thought, oh yeah, let's give it a go. How horrifying could it possibly be?
Well, that was a stupid idea.
It was a dumb fuck idea. Yeah. And Arachnophobia has affected me for the rest of my life.
Well, you can't put it on the list because you can't enjoy it that.
No, I don't enjoy
Yeah.
it at all.
And that's not even a fun experience to watch.
No, it's
for
not. So
the
that's why it's an
yeah.
honourable mention purely because, yeah, it's something that I vowed never to
But guess what?
revisit.
I like it.
John likes it.
Does John like it?
It's like he's here in the room with us.
Any more on that?
No, I'm done.
Fire in the Sky.
Oh yeah, horror.
Yeah, the ending.
All right,
Definitely.
yeah, all right, okay, all right.
Bride of Chucky.
Yeah.
Anaconda.
Oh my god, yeah, but then I put Lake Placid on
Yeah.
there.
Well, yeah, Lake Placid. I don't know if anyone's ever seen this. It's a Jamie Lee Curtis movie called Virus.
No.
Rings a bell.
It's in it. It's kind of like an robotic virus that's on a cruise, not cruise ship. It's like it's like a battleship type thing that's on a Russian one, and it can infect people. And it's like if the Borg was a virus. It's kind of like that.
Are you talking about midi-chlorians?
No, not necessarily. Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Sutherland, and Billy Baldwin, I think, is in it as well. Anyway, Virus, check it out. Species,
Yeah, okay.
Sixth Sense. Would you allow that?
Yeah.
Kind
Kind of.
Yeah, because it's got supernatural themes,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exorcist 3,
Okay.
The Mimic,
Oh,
Benicio del Toro. No, Guillermo del Toro, sorry.
Yeah.
The Relic, I don't know if anyone's ever
Yeah, I
seen
remember
that.
the Relic. Yeah, it's along the same lines, isn't it? Yeah.
Urban Legend, I know what you did last summer. Cube, Wishmaster.
Oh.
Anyone remember
yeah,
Wishmaster?
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
And the various sequels, yeah.
And this is kind of like Aliens on a boat. And it was Stephen Sommers' first movie called Deep Rising. Anyone know that movie?
I know
With
the
Treat Williams and
name.
Famke Janssen.
You are really rooting around in the in the.
I love Deep. Have you ever seen Deep Rising?
No.
It's so good. It's cheesy. It's fun. It's brilliant. Watch it.
Sounds straight to video.
And one that was obviously The Faculty, but another one that was very, very close to my list because I fucking hate scary asylums is The House on Haunted Hill.
I had that, yeah.
Very violent, and there is a shot in that movie that totally freaks me out every time. I can't ever watch it.
Which shot out of interest.
There's a part where she's got the camera and she turns and there's this thing standing in the doorway, like miles down the aisle, and then the camera just swoops straight into it, and you see like a shaking like that. It's horrible.
That's very similar to that Korean one we
It
mentioned
is,
earlier,
but
isn't it?
that's the be all end all.
That comes towards it, doesn't it?
It does. That's the be all end all of asylum movies.
We're starting to find out what really, really terrifies that.
Yeah. Hospitals, man, or asylums. No. Any honorable mentions?
I think most of them have been covered. There is Hellraiser 3, though.
Yes.
Hellraiser 3.
Yes, well done.
I think there's a Gremlins. Is it Gremlins
2? Gremlins 2.
Gremlins 2. I think you've covered a lot of the other ones I had. So, yeah, that's the only two, the gaps that I think.
Nice.
Yes.
So the 90s is done, guys. Well done. Some good picks there. I need to watch that one from Madrid. Watch that one, yeah.
Day of the Beast.
It's a brilliant film, mate.
It is
I-
intriguing.
It is, yeah, it is. And I feel like I haven't done it justice by explaining it to you guys, but it's this.
Well, you've done it justice by titillating us enough to make us want to go and watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, shall we end it there, guys? We've done John's top 5 and leave it there.
Well, hang on. Don't we need to banish John?
Oh.
Be gone, beast!
Foul beast, back to the pit of hell from where you come, from where thou camest.
So, guys, if you like what you listen to, give us a like, a comment, a subscribe, a share, whatever you can. We'd love to hear from you. And just hitting that subscribe button goes a long, long way. And if you enjoyed what you listen to, follow us on Facebook at the M.T.V.B. Podcast, on Instagram at M.T.V.B. Podcast, on TikTok, M.T.V. Podcast 197. And, of course, here on YouTube at the M.T.V.B. Podcast. So that's the 90s done. Let's go for next week's naughties, shall we call it? Naughties. We'll see you then, guys. Bye-bye.